Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness, I missed you guys. Hi. Woo! I just came back. Well, I didn't just come back, but I always feed Link like right when I hit just starting stream because he likes to bark. Otherwise, he might still bark, to be honest. But hello, everyone. How you doing? Let me start from the top. From me, congrats on the first. Renz, welcome in. Thank you for the check-in. Hello, Killjoy. Hello, Sethos. Hello, Jay. Hello, Rold. Dawse, thank you for the lyric. Welcome in. Hi, Cam. Welcome in. How you doing? Howdy. Jay, what does that say in Japanese? I don't really know what that says. Does that okairi? I don't know what it says. I should learn, but yeah. For those of you guys that weren't here last week, I took a little break. I just needed a little refresh, and honestly, I feel so much more recharged. I have a lot to talk about, a lot to tell you. Hi, Lynn. Welcome in. Hi. Let me give you a quick shout out. But I kind of just, honestly, I just vibed a lot, to be honest. I touched grass a ton. Yeah. It's nice to meet you and your community. Want to stop by and say hi. Welcome in, Dawse. Hello. How did you find me, if I may ask? How was your break? Oh, I have a lot to tell you. Let me do a hydrate for you. Hi, Renz. How you doing? Been getting into fishing. Nice. Caught any good fish? Hope you had a good break. I did have a good break. It says Hisashiburi, but I don't remember exactly what it means. Oh, like Hisashiburi as in like, how have you been? Welcome in, Wind. Hello, we'll be mostly lurking while I prep breakfast. No worries. Thank you for stopping in. Have a lovely breakfast. Long time no see. Hi, Blank. It's almost like you saw me earlier in Rando's stream. Thank you for the reset, Patat. 52 months is kind of crazy, no? Thank you. Hope you're feeling better. I am. Hi, Strawberry. Welcome in. I'll also give you a shout out. I don't really want to ask my mods right now because I think they're both busy. I'll give you a shout out as well. Nothing yet because my gear's at home and I leave Saturday. Mainly knowledge. Got you. Must have been some other Blank. Yes. Hi, Jay. Welcome in. Hello. Jay, Sashiburi. Does that mean how have you been? Someone, I think it was Wind kindly translated it for me, but I don't know what it means. Yeah, so I spent a lot of time. Oh, we have a ad. Awkward. I spent a lot of time just touching grass, really, taking time to myself. I did play with friends here and there, of course, but a lot of the days I spent alone, just kind of vibing, recharging. A girl likes to be alone. Sometimes when I spend too much time alone, I forget what it's like to talk to people. I don't really get lonely per se. I just get really contented. Like I feel really at peace being by myself. I got Link and I got my music and I just kind of vibe. So Sashiburi means long time no see. Oh, it's been a while. Oh, my house is filled with poop. Literal poop. I want to ask. I mean, feel free to tell me how your guys' week been. I'm curious. The recharge time kind of hit. Yeah. I should explain it's mostly since I keep running into you through a mutual friend, so I wanted to hang out. Oh, got you. Wait, which friend? What is Why? Nande? Raw sewage backed up in the basement. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. That's unfortunate. All through Yams. I see. Well, welcome in, Das. Yam is really fun too. He's been a vibe hanging out in his streams. This week has been marveling pain. Oh, I have to tell you about that. I actually kept a little journal. I think I stopped on day 5. Because after that I kind of started like coming back on little by little. So I kept a little journal of all the things that I was up to last week. So I can yap with you guys about it, but I also just like to keep journals in general, so... Surprise swimming pool. Ew! I'm disgusting now. I threw away everything from my ex and it felt good, except the rings. Yeah, I saw that. Kudos to you. All power to you. Yeah, unfortunate for Lynn. Everyone 07 for Lynn. You ready for the weekend? It's only Tuesday. I'm in my weekend phase right now. Tuesday. Wait, it's Monday. I was gonna say it's Tuesday, isn't it? But it's Monday. I just finished work yesterday. Good morning, Brando. Does the throw berries not work again? It worked for me. I wonder why it's not working. Oh, you know what? I think there's an update for it. But I'll just do it manually from now on. I think there was an update for it that I did not download. Oops. Oops, sheesh. Getting situated, eating better, and got to help at a jazz concert for the city. I almost read that as eating butter, and I was like, I mean, all power to you, man. Eat that butter if you want. But that's awesome, Jazz. I love that. I ditched you. Oh, Brando did? Oh. A couple of friends talked to me about Ren fairs in voice chat last Friday. IRL friends dragged me to a Ren fair yesterday. You guys don't know how badly I want to go to Ren fair. Oh, I want to drag Brando into it. I'm gonna be honest. It lasts till May 18th, and I really want to go. I think I've only ever been once. I want to go. I want to go so badly. Hi, sis. Hello. I hope you've been resting up well too. May I ask you a question? Can you explain the difference between giving a compliment and being flirty? I want to be more like a friend and less like Johnny Bravo. Being flirty is being like, hey girl, hey girly, hold still. No, it's just, compliments are fine. If you be like, hey, you have a pretty voice, hey, I like your model, hey, whatever, that's fine. Think of it like a girly speaking to a girly and being like, oh my god, I love your clothes, oh my god, you know? Versus flirty is like, I actually don't know because I don't flirt much, but isn't it be like, hey sexy. I don't know, man. I'm the same old bud. What's that supposed to mean? What's that supposed to mean? I actually think I wrote something down. Okay, I did write something down about this, so good question, Dase. Good question. You may call me commander, you may call me boss, you can call me captain, you can call me Taicho. You may not call me mommy, sexy, baby, etc. I don't want to be called that. Does that help? I actually wrote this down. I've gotten called mommy one too many times on TikTok. I'm tired of it. I read your stuff. Oh, thank you so much for reading the rules. That's so cool. Thank you. And not a lot of people do, believe it or not. So I really appreciate that. Take me with you to Ren Fair? God, you're home in May? Are you home in time? Because it ends May 18th. Oh my god, you'll tag along? A whole Karoob? I want to go to Ren Fair so badly, you guys. Hi, Helen. Welcome in. Hello. Okay, Shanta. Ho, ho, ho. What about Slay Queen Leader? That's acceptable. Yeah, Slay Queen, acceptable. Compliment. OMG girl, love your fit. Flirt. OMG girl, I love your fit. No, come on, let's be real. If someone was flirting with you, they would not say that. They would not say that. They'd be like, damn girl, your ass is fat in those jeans. Basically keep the authority, but y'all can't keep those mommy issues. Yeah. I am the commander of the Baby Brigade, yes. I have to for personal reasons. I want to improve as a person on Twitch. I got you. Well, I really appreciate it. Lost your voice cheering at the jousting. I didn't get to go to the jousting last time. There's still so much I want to do. Just be prepared to lose a lot of money. Bub's flirting is so direct, lewd. I don't know what flirting is, sis. I'm sorry. I'm awkward. I'm single for a reason. My exes didn't flirt with me that much. I don't know what to tell you. Or maybe they did and I'm just clueless. If boys flirt with girls, how we flirt with the homies, I'm convinced we could always pull. True. Bruh. I'm also a lot more energetic. That break was honestly, for those of you guys that are feeling burnt out, feeling overwhelmed, there's too many voices in your head, recommend taking a break. It might be scary, especially for streamers, but it was really so nice. It silenced the voices. I could breathe, you know. Welcome back. Hi Fox, welcome in. Hi, thank you for the check-in. If I'm flirting, it's something stupid like, damn girl, you look like you connect a USB stick on the first try. That's a talent though. You gotta be like spinning it around like that means they're good with their hands, right? Can confirm they did not flirt with you, the losers. Patat doesn't like my exes. Yeah. The voices demand sacrifice for the blood god. The voices! Do you guys want to know what voices are stuck in my head this week? You guys want to know what's been stuck in... A wee wee wee. A wee wee wee. Yeah, Brando knows. Wee wee wee. Smoke bombs. How a man flirts. Yo, you got that gat, girl. I was gonna say something, but I refrained. I shall refrain. Oh, I forgot to turn on my freaking fan. No wonder I'm lagging just a tiny bit. Hold on. I'm done. Now I gotta connect the USB first try. It's not the first try. Hold on. Okay, it's like the fourth try. Oh! Turn the my phone's cooler on. I forgot how to stream, guys. I forgot. We got the child flirting experience. He's the only one that's flirted with me. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. That should work on most bisexuals. It would work. This is why I'm sapphic. Why would I laugh and find it charming? I feel like if someone were to do a stupid flirt like that, I'd have to have been friends with them. Otherwise, it would not work on me. If it was a stranger coming up and making some stupid pickup line, like, what are some pickup lines you guys think would actually work on you? I feel like pickup lines would only work if I'm friends with them, right? Wonder how Sis flirts. He just sensei. Why Sis? I could not imagine. The wee wee wee. Wee wee wee. Wee wee wee. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on you guys' chats, but wee wee wee. If I try to flirt, it goes like this. Okay, me just say, hi girl, you look good. May I have your number? How it goes, excuse me, miss, what time is it? Thank you. I would prefer the second one, actually. I wouldn't want someone to come up to me and be like, you look good. Can I get your number? I'd be like, weirded out. Like, can you not? I want to get to know you first. Can you be like, hey. Like, usually if, like, realistically, if someone was trying to, like, flirt with me, I would pick something that we have in common, right? I have a lot of pins on my bag. I make it easy. So if you see, like, a Genshin pin, my Ricely pin. Oh, is that Ricely from Genshin? Oh, that's so cool. Do you play Genshin? Yeah, you do. And then we talk about that and then be like, hey, we vibe really well. Like, can I get your number? Can we hang out sometime? That would work on me probably. But that's like a lot more chilled, right? So, yeah. You look like you know the difference between there, and there. I don't know. I'm afraid of talking to girls. I will say this, Killjoy. Girls like it when you listen to them. Because most girls are reduced to being the therapist. Can confirm. Can confirm. I want to be, this is why I yap to you guys, huh? I spend my life I'm surrounded by men who never listen. Got alert. Good luck, Strawberry. You wait for putting the wee 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 sound back. Wee wee wee. You're welcome. Just place your hand on their shoulder and say, hey. Wait, how does he do it? Hold on. He goes like, he goes like this. Hey. Hey. Anything that sounds like it was written by Johnny Bravo or why not? Dog, if someone just came up to me and was like, yo, bro, you got that yacht? Let me get that number. I'm giving her my number. If a girl said that to a guy, but like, realistically, Brando, if a guy said that to a girl, I feel like I'd be a little creeped out, no? What language do you mainly speak? I see. I'm fluent with all 5 love languages when I am with you. I can't even speak one, Renz. I'm stuttering. Oh, but that's a good pickup line. One time a man left me a note at a cafe, like instead of interrupting me, just dropped me. That's so cute. Oh, and it's so romantic because it sounds like it came out of a novel. I like that. That's really cute. I'm a fan of romantic cliches. I'm not gonna lie. If someone likes Ruby, it's pretty much equivalent to flirting with me. That's the best way to bother a stranger in public. Little notes like that I think are really cute. Or you wait till they're done if you have the time. Yeah. Damn, girl, you look like you apologize when you walk on a wet floor. What is that supposed to mean? What does that mean? If I see a Ricey pin, I'd say, damn, girl, you know a gat when you see it. They have taste. Bubba Bot, if you were a triangle, you'd be a cute one. Why are you flirting with Bubba Bot? Yo, why are you flirting with Bubba Bot? 5 love language. I'm trying to speak, and I don't need you to point it out. I was considering playing a little game in the background because in case there was not enough time to yap, but I'm thinking today I have so much to talk about. I haven't even started talking about my week, by the way, that I think will be fun. We don't need the background game, right? That shit would be funny if a girly pop came up to me and said that. Hey, smolders intensely. What did I just do? You tagged Bubba Bot instead of Bubba. No, it's funnier that you were flirting with the bot. I think that's funnier. Do you need to poop? Do you need to poop? I'm too shy. I'm one of those people who would go to a combat zone then try and muster the courage to talk to a girl. Well, if you can go to war, you can talk to a girl. I'm just saying, you have that courage in you somewhere, so you gotta grow somehow, right? I always appreciate when girls give me their number and let me decide if I want to reach out or not instead of cornering me and asking me. If someone gave me their number, I'm not going to message them probably. I don't know. I actually don't know. A guy gave me his number when I was at the park walking Link, and I have not messaged him at all. No. It's attractive because that's respectful behavior. True. Is the bar really that low? Is the bar that low? Just respectful behavior gets us to be like, oh my god, swoons. It should have been me. You might not count my first, but I'll make you count how many first you'll Damn, that is a pickup line after you're together, though. You wouldn't say that to a stranger. I would hope. We're trying to, do I need to teach my berries how to be respectful? Boy or girl, if you are respectful in a relationship or to random people, 10 out of 10, it's gonna make you more attractive. Pick me, choose me, love me. Hi, email. Welcome in. I'm still catching up with chat. I'm sorry. Oh my god. I think if I wanted to be friendly, I could use OMG, I love your fit. But if you want to flirt, you say, I love your style. Everything just looks so considerate. It looks like you see yourself. Hello. Hello. Shiny Bot, welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. Hello, hello. Welcome in. How was your stream? Okay. I don't know if I can catch up to your chats, y'all. I will try, but if you want to repeat what you said, feel free to repeat it. Yeah. I'm overwhelmed. How you doing, Shiny Bot? What are you streaming? Oh, you're playing Honkai. How was the Honkai? I've been enjoying my day very much. I was doing, was it Memories of Chaos? No. What was the other one? Apocalyptic Shadow? And my My Day team wiped, except for My Day. And I was at the point, I was so stubborn. I was like, you know what? I want to see how far we go with just My Day. It turns out, I thought he had a limit of 3. It turns out he died and revived himself 15 times. Soloed the boss and we beat the floor. Did you guys know he could do that? Because I didn't. Did not know he could do that. I thought he could only die 3 times. He died 15 times. Okay, it was fun. I'm building remembrance MCs so I can use them with My Day. Yay, that's so awesome. Shiny Bot, thank you again for the raid. If you do need to get some food, get some water, or just leave a lurk, I do not mind at all. After stream care is very important, but thank you again. I want to see the tea. Hold on. A guy, hold on. What is Patats? Where's your message? I want to read it. I'm nosy. Okay, hold on. I found it. A guy asked me on a date and I didn't realize it was a date until after. That was like 9 years ago. You ever think about those moments? Like someone was flirting with you and you just didn't realize? Because I wonder about that all the time. I'm quite dense sometimes when it comes to stuff like that. And I'm just like, nah, they're just being friendly, you know? Like, nah, they're just... I never realized it until many years later. Like, wait a minute. Wait. Had a guy ask me to lunch, but I didn't realize until after. I got told I'm intimidating quite a lot too, so that doesn't help, I'm sure. People I'll date, a live girl, speak a language I speak, optional? That's crazy. Have better standards than that. if it were a study date, I'm afraid I'd be like, yo, wait, I'm trying to tattoo these notes into my face. Study dates only work if you're not actually stressed about it. You know, if it's not the day before the exam, but it's like 3 weeks before it, then I guess it could work maybe. But then usually study dates turn into yapping. I've never had a study date. I've only had friendship study dates, if that makes sense. And I always yap because I don't want to study because I hate school. Smile. You know, I'm dense AF with that. You have witnessed the densest. I remember a girl ran up to you, like all like flustered and said that they loved your hair or whatever. And she was blushing like crazy. And you were just like, what? That's so funny. I hit them with the, okay, hi, bye. That's your Riz. I think you could, Brando, I think your Riz is natural in the sense that you're just very respectful and you listen very well and you open doors for people. It's great. Hold on, let me bring my dog back inside. Welcome back. 100% yes, agreed. People owe you clear communication if they want to ask you out. By the way, ShinyBot, we're talking about pickup lines that may or may not work on us. If someone were to flirt with you, what kind of pickup line would work on you? Hi, my cat. Welcome in. 12 is not high enough. What? Oh, Riz. Oh, rip. A girl one time asked me to help her with homework in college. I took her to the library to hang out with my other friends that are girl. Chat, did I fumble? Did she ask you when you were alone, or did she ask you, like, to join a group? Did she ask for a study session just you two, or was she asking, like, with a group? I had a customer at the bank flirt with me once while I was doing a wire for him. I had his phone to copy the wire info in, and I thought he said you can take a screenshot if you need to, but what he actually said was you can leave your phone number in there too if you want to. But because I heard the first thing, oh my god, I can't read this. I so politely said, oh no, that's okay, I'm good. You rejected the poor man! You rejected him! Repeating before I look more? Well, it's not that you're dense. If they're being vague, then being vague. That's on them too. Oh, that's true. But I'm very dense. I'm very dense. But thank you for the alert, Grants, and thanks for stopping by. Wait, my Riz, are you a toaster? Because I want to take a bath with you. Chat, what do we think about that one? It's a little... I'm not, okay. Me personally, I'm not really into dark humor, but it could be funny on the right person, I think. She wanted to go to a coffee shop, and I said library. She wanted to go to a coffee Roald, I think you might have fumbled. If it was library, then it's like 50-50, but a coffee shop? Oh my god, email. Thank you so much for gifting a sub to Aki. I appreciate it. Never had a girl come up to me and flirt. Damn, it's only a matter of time. You know, it's only a matter of time. Baba yippee. Hi, Aki. If the topic is about fumbling or hold the world record, I don't know if I should be proud about that. Hey, it's a learning process, for sure. Where's my wrist? He was hot too. I was so mad. No! Was he a client? Can you be weird and just like call him back? Be like, wait, come back. Actually, he had money. Not that that matters, but by God, it doesn't hurt. How long ago was this, Lynn? Is it too late? Is it too late now? I had a random man stop me on the street to ask for my number. I politely said no, and he was very nice about it and left. A couple months later, I saw him doing the same to another girl on the same street and get turned down again. Yeah, I wouldn't give strangers my numbers, to be honest. It's friends, and they have to earn my trust. I didn't give my best friends my numbers for a very long time. Let's be clear. If anyone is dropping hints to me, F you, make it obvious. You are making me overthink it years later. Yeah, I don't do subtlety. Sometimes I do, but then I overthink a lot, and then I'm not sure. So I don't do subtlety really well. I've only ever had men genuinely flirt with me. I'm assuming you don't like that. I'm also very dense, oblivious. Like, unless you're upfront, it's lost on me. Yeah, or I overthink it. What if it's like, what if you think it's a date and it's not, and then you embarrass yourself? Like, what if that happens? I don't know. I'd be scared. Don't think pickup lines ever worked, but if someone does something sweet for me that shows they're paying attention, yeah. You're so right. If someone pays attention to something that I'm yapping about, and trust me, I yap a lot. But if they're like, oh, this girl likes Ricely, and they get me Ricely merch. If they're like, everyone knows that I like strawberries, but if it's like, they remember my birthday, or they remember that I like this certain food, or whatever, whatever. I do my best to remember that from my friends too, but yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I think acts of service, well, yeah. My best friend fumbled so hard when his date invited him over to watch a movie. He ended up zoned in watching the Fast and the Furious and forgot he was on a date. Oh no! I couldn't do a movie date, especially not for the first time, because I also get really invested in movies, and I'm like, shh, get your hands off me. I'm trying to watch the movie, you know? Thankfully, I've never had that type of date before, but I don't think it would work, you know? Need people to straight up tell me I'm an absolute goober and make shit up in my head. Yeah, it's easier if people are friends. What I'm learning is a lot of people like it when they're straightforward. You're not a banker anymore. Oh. Okay, I'm so behind on chat, guys. I have to scroll down again. I'm so sorry. I'm like all the way up there. I have a friend who pays so much attention to my likes and gets me little gifts based on them now, and then it makes me explode every time. She's literally the sweetest. Oh, yeah, we love. Honestly, people that pay attention in general are the greatest. I feel a little bit better about myself seeing these comments. Seems I'm not the only one who fumbles. See? You're not alone out there. We all struggle, and we're all human. Awkwardness and mistakes are part of what makes us who we are. Yeah. Gotta look and cook dinner now. Bye, ShinyBot. Thank you again for stopping by. Have a lovely dinner. It was a guy friend who I hadn't seen in a bit, but he came into my workplace and then messaged me when I was off to see if I wanted to see a movie that Friday. I didn't even clue it. It was a Lynn! He asked you out on Valentine's Day to see a movie! Lynn! Oh, Seven Berry. Oh, I'm so... Oh, no! Oh, Seven Soldier. Oh, my God. At least he tried. Damn. That is pretty obvious, I gotta say. Oh no. Movie day. Oh god, that sounds so bad. What if the movie's too good, I forget someone's with me? Or it's pure acid and makes me fall asleep? I don't know. Nothing is scary to me. That when I go on like a date or something and I could see them looking at me and I'm like, don't you better not be trying to touch me. Don't try to kiss me. Don't try to hold my hands. That's probably the reason I haven't had my first kiss yet. But like, okay, back up. I need to know you better than that. I'm not a first date, first kiss type of person, okay? My first kiss needs to be magical. It probably won't be, but like, no thanks. Oh, Seven's in chat for Lynn. No, but Bubba, it's worse. I went and never clued in. I went to the dinner and movie. He insisted on paying, and I was like, why? Wait, so you went? Okay, so he wasn't stood up at least. But you didn't. Okay, but did he ask you out at the end? Because that's on him then. I'm back. What did I miss? We're talking about pickup lines that would work on us, and also fumbles. With that time where you didn't realize someone was flirting with you. Hand-holding, how lewd and I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but I'm okay. Hold on. Hand-holding is fine. I just don't want it to be like on the first date. I'm sorry. I have to get to know someone first. I've kissed twice and one was forced and one was the truth or dare. Both were bad. I'm a cat. I'm so sorry. Trust me, holding out is better. I'm a cat. I think it's because it wasn't with a person you like. I'm gonna be so for real. I'm so sorry. Oh, that makes me so sad. Aw. I think I healed you during our hunts. Oh, damn. Fumbles. War flashbacks. No, it was never phrased as, do you want to go out with me? It was always phrased more casually. Like, I get it. It's scary to directly ask someone out because you don't want that rejection. So, like... I get it, but at the same time, at a certain point, you kind of have to, right? Maybe he was just trying to see how it goes. I don't know. Horror movie dates are fun because I can pretend to freak out at nothing just for the sake of getting the girl to also freak out. I would be so mad. I get it, but I would be so mad. I had a really cute first kiss. I was rambling and she kissed me to get me to chill. It did not work. I went more. That sounds about right. That's cute though. Something straight out of a book. Aww. It be my life. No, one day I'm a cat. You're gonna get that magical first kiss. I mean, if you want it. If you don't, you'll get your magical time alone. I don't know. Do you want to see a movie? Do you want to grab dinner? Yeah, that can be confusing for sure. Hi, Yums. Welcome in. We're talking about times either we have fumbled on a date or someone else has fumbled on us and we were too dense to see it. What's worse is in my prime, I was a top tier dating coach that helped lots of people get a date. My motto was, Coach, don't play. Gotta follow your own motto. To be fair, the first time I kissed a girl I've liked for 6 years, I am getting butterflies thinking about, oh, that's so cute. Oh my god. I love that. That's adorable. I'm getting motion sick on the bus. Chat, don't make it weird. Behave for Bubba. Potat is omnipotent. Bye, Potat. Have a safe drive. It wasn't until a friend was like, wait, you went out for Valentine's Day? I was like, oh shit, I guess I did. Can we get a shout out for Yums, by the way? I'm gonna pass alone because I'm an idiot. No, you're fine. I hate horror movies. They stress me out. One, horror movies tend to have a lot of flashing lights in it, so I can't watch them much regardless. But two, oh my god, they stress me out. And then haunted houses are fun, but you know how people have a fight or flight response? I have a fight response. And one time I went with my brother and sister, and a clown tried to jump scare me, and I may have punched him and gotten kicked out. So we don't go to those much anymore. We don't go to those much anymore. So, yeah, I'm not the little, yeah, grabs onto my boyfriend's arm. No, I'm more like, get motherfucker, get out of here.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
That's just how it be. Starry Galaxis, what a pretty name. Oh wait, Galaxies, Galaxies, what? Starry Galaxies, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. The three threw me off. Holly is right with the world again. When I tried playing, got cheated on after 1 month. Safe to say I should have stuck. So sorry. I'm so sorry. I was 7. I'm reading a book about platonic life partners, and I'm like, oh wait, this is actually really cute. You know, if stuff doesn't work out, I'll just ask someone to platonically be roommates with me. I don't know. I hate horror movies. Everyone is a freaking dumbass. True. Which I guess is the point, though. It wouldn't be a horror movie if you just turned around. Oh, my house is haunted? Bye. You know, then there's no point, right? It's gotta be the dumbasses that get their ass whooped. I mean, it happens in real life. So, relax. I got confused. Hi, Starry. Welcome in. Hi. Welcome in. Went to horror nights once. A friend needed someone to hold hands with. Her nails stuck into my skin. Hey, that's cute, though. Aww. It's cute. Honestly, man, sometimes those close, hard-hitting friendships can be just as fulfilling. I'm definitely one of those people that doesn't have as many friends, especially IRL, but the ones that I do have, I'm quite loyal to. Very, very close with, yeah. How's everyone? We're good. We're talking about fumbles. Either someone that fumbled with you trying to ask you out on a date, or you fumbled trying to ask someone else on a date. Or flirting. I don't know. I'm a bad flirter, so I'm trying to take notes, you know? I don't know how to flirt. I love horror movies. I need more friends to watch them with, though. I love watching them with people, but all the friends I used to watch them. Aw, I see. I'm a cat. You need a hug. You need a hug. I am what is known as a coward. I don't know if it's magical or dreamy. We were in my car for a late night coffee run. We were listening to songs, and it just happened. 10 out of 10 would get caramel macchiato again. That rhymes! That's so cute. Oh. Yeah, sometimes I think that's the best way, is when it doesn't feel forced, right? The first kiss. That's something I'm sad about. A lot of movies nowadays are like removing the romance, because I understand they want the woman to be strong, independent and everything, but I'm a hopeless romantic. I still want to see the Disney princess get a prince, okay? Sometimes it doesn't have to be the whole story, but like I want the romance back. Just a little, please. Just a little, just a smidge of romance for my little heart. I swear there's this horror movie where the homeowner ignored the ghost because buying a new house is too costly. I would buy a haunted house, but I would befriend the ghost. I would leave him offerings and put some incense out and figure out what it likes and maybe play its favorite music. I don't know. I'd befriend it. Honestly, my most recent fumble was when I asked a girl for her Discord, told her mine, and she never added me back. Oh, did you know her well? Sometimes you have to get to know them first before they trust you with that. There's lots of other people. There's many fish in the seas. Yes. So there's this horror movie with a home. Oh, I already shot it. I read it. Every time I watch a horror, I see they get the chance to leave the haunting and they go back in anyways. And I'm like, y'all deserve whatever you get. No common sense. Radio, welcome in, Radio. Welcome in. I missed you. Don't you think it would be way more scary if you did everything right, but you still died at the end? I'm talking about horror movies. I mean, yeah, like, what if you did the... That would be an interesting movie, though. The entire movie, you're trying to avoid, like, getting killed or haunted, you know? So you notice that the house is haunted, you leave and move into a different house. But that ghost follows you to that house, and you keep trying to avoid it, but bad things keep happening to you because you're destined to die or something. It's kind of a cool concept, right? I don't know. You should try watching My Happy Marriage. I watched season 1. I'm waiting for all of season 2 to come out so I can binge it all at once. Yeah. I did watch all of Cherry Magic this week. I was giggling and kicking my feet like a little schoolgirl. It was so freaking cute. Oh my god. Cherry Magic was so adorable. It's about these two office workers, and one of them, I think it's like Cherry Magic. I became a wizard at 30 because I'm a virgin or whatever. So the guy gets these magic powers to be able to hear people's thoughts when he touches them. And he finds out that his coworker likes him, who's also a man. This is a BL, by the way. And it was so cute. And I was just giggling and squealing. And I loved it. It was very adorable. The movie you're describing is sinister. Does it actually exist? Oh, I'm not going to watch it. I don't like horror movies, but interesting that concept exists. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Sure, but Bubba, I'm Darla if I'm finding you. Jesus. That jump scared me. Oh. My goodness. BL, welcome in. Thank you for the raid. I'm good. I'm fine. I was talking about BL. BL, hello. Welcome in, Racking. Hello. For those of you that don't know me, you should at this point. But if you don't know me, my name is Bubblicious. I'm a strawberry VTuber, just doing my very best. Welcome in. We're talking, honestly, I don't know what we're talking about at this point. We were talking about fumbling dates, and now we're talking about horror movies. It is just a yapping kind of day, but welcome in. Xiao's makeup wipe. Welcome in. Honestly, valid. Very valid. Xiao is a beautiful, beautiful man. I was gonna recommend Blind Manor because it got horror and romance, but it's also sad. I actually watched a lot of that. I did watch a lot of it because it wasn't that scary, but I don't know. I just dropped it. I don't know why. BL chatted for 1.5 hours about food. I know, I was there. I lurked for most of it. You're talking about a lot of chips. This is a just chatting stream though, so if you do like to yap or you want to lurk, feel free to. Make sure to take care of yourself. I have hiccups, sorry. Hope BL had a fun time. I saw she did start Minecraft at the very end, so yeah. Xiao is a very fine man. Lip bite, hold on, can I do it? No, I can't really do it. But I get you. I love Xiao. Xiao's lore is probably one of my favorite in the game. Still waiting for 86 Gen. I was debating it. I ended up watching Cherry Magic and American Primeval. How was your weekend and health, Ben? I will get to talking about my week. I just been sidetracked. Yes, it's gonna be a big yapping. You're cheating on Xiao with Scaramouche. Oh, not the Scaramouche pipeline. That's crazy. I mean, I'm a Ricely girly for life, but you know. My ex loved Xiao, but the moment I said I liked Ayaka, she got jealous. We had an... Sorry, but who gets... I'm sorry. But like, getting jealous over a fictional character? Nah. You should... your ex should be like, you love Ayaka? And then buy you a full body pillow of Ayaka. Josie, yeah, actually, I like him. I played Genshin in Japanese, but I still love the English voice actors as well. I can explain. Crazy. That's crazy. Need to find a bag of Simba chips. The Simba chips. I came into BL talking about those. I came in at a questionable time, which usually happens when I join BL streams, but definitely questionable. What is this Wattpad synopsis? I got her so much Xiao and she didn't do the same for you. I see why she's your ex now. Sorry, but What did you think about American Primeval? I actually really liked it. If you're sensitive to certain topics, just be forewarned. Women traveling alone with a lot of men, let's just say, just be aware of that. I think the end was kind of rushed, but overall it was good. I liked it. A lot of factors went into the breakup, but yeah, no, of course, it's usually a lot, but it's like, you want someone that's gonna support your hobbies, right? As long as it's not something that makes you uncomfortable, which I guess it made her uncomfortable, but overall, like, you'd want to be with someone that supports your hobbies. And I mean, getting jealous over a fictional character, sorry. Whoever I end up with has to be comfortable with my Risley merch, because I got a lot of him in my room. Baklava for, yeah, it's a fair trade. Need someone to unironically match my free. Yeah. I played in Japanese for most of my playthrough, but yesterday decided to switch on a whim, and my friend mentioned Joe for the millionth time and did not realize how. Yeah, I think, okay. Some of my favorite voices in English, Ito, of course, Risley, of course, Child, of course. Is there anyone else I really love in English? Those are the three off the top of my head. Zhangli sounds amazing in Chinese. Xiao sounds amazing in Chinese. Yeah. Need someone to play Adopt Me and dress up as Shadow Milk Cookie so I feel less insane in full pure vanilla cookie. I hope you find your cookie pookie. Yes. Dinesleaf? Oh yeah, he sounds good too. But he sounds amazing in Japanese, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Yeah, Cookie Run mentioned Let's Go. I've not played it, but there's some cool designs in there from what I've seen. I've seen people redraw them as human, which is cool too. Also funny how I was never someone who would notice a baklava until I followed you. Now I notice it too much. You ruined me. Ha 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 ha. Let's go. If you guys are new to the Baba antics, baklava is cake, aka booty. So when I mention Risley's baklava, I'm talking about his butt. So smile. OMG, Nico one shot is in Cookie Run. Oh, what is that? What? I don't know what that is. Dad ass. Hi, Bill. Bill, don't you have to go? Don't you have to go do something? God, it got warm in here. It's not because I was talking about Ricey. It just... I made the mistake. I took a shower and then was running around the house doing chores and stuff. And I don't know if any of you guys have curly hair, but when you let your hair air dry and you're running around, it becomes so frizzy. And I look like Hermione Granger right now. Their character from the game One Shot. Oh, you want me gone? I see how it is. No, I want you here, BL, but I know you're usually busy afterwards. Don't leave me. Come back. Still, Groot got the best, but Groot has no baklava. He's made of wood. He's literally a plank. What do you mean? Thought it was because I was talking about Risley. The frizz is crazy. Yeah, the frizz is crazy today. The woody baklava. Imagine the wood. Are you okay? What did I do here? What did I click? Are you okay? You could have been killed or worse, expelled. She needs to get her priorities sorted. I don't remember. Actually, I sounded southern. She really needs to get her priorities. I can't do a British accent right now. Sorry. I got a lurk, Bubs. It's lovely to see you back. Have a great yapping session. Thanks for stopping in, Bella. Have a lovely lurk. Please do not the tree. Please do not the tree. Please do not the tree. Wood baklava. Kaya has the inverted. Kaya has pancake for butt. I'm sorry to say that man has no baklava. He's got a pancake though. He unfortunate, you know? He seems like he would have one, but he does not. He unfortunately does not. Okay. Alright. I pre-yapped way too long. It's 48 minutes in. I was supposed to tell you guys about my week, and I'm just yapping. Yap session is peak content. Yeah, I like to yap, so. Don't talk ill of my man. I never said he doesn't have assets elsewhere. He just does not have assets in the ass. How did you manage to miss a full-on caps lock capital letter message? Unfortunately, there's a lot of chats going around, and I have to scroll a lot in fights to see the chats. So my bad if I misread something. I love Kaya, but it dips in. Dips in is crazy. We don't have them assets. Star-Lord, Guardian of the Galaxy skin doesn't even have pancake. Bro has the floor. R.I.P. He doesn't have ass in the ass. Long time no see, goofball. Hi, Ancient Marinark. Welcome in, welcome in. He's like me, big chest, no ass. I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite. Small chest, big ass. Oh, you know what? It's fine. All right, okay. Seriously, stop distracting me. Stop. Okay. You guys want to hear? Day 1. I kept a journal of this. So, very first day of my week off, because I took a week off break, I watched all of Cherry Magic. I talked to you about it. A 10 out of 10 recommend if you like a fluffy, cute little BL. Very cute. I did a nighttime hike with Link. I hiked all the way up this big old mountain so I could see the city lights from up high. It was very gorgeous. I felt like I was in a movie or something. I started getting obsessed with the song Ordinary. It was really nice. And I hung out with my sister and dad and made ma'amul, which is date cookies, which, you know, date the fruit, not for a date, like date the fruit. I feel like I had to clarify that a few times. They're like, who are you going on a date with? No, date cookies. Date cookies, yes. No wee. I don't like you guys right now. No distractions, they say. No distractions, and you distracted me. Listen, I'm trying to talk about my week. They don't care. They just want to wee. When streamer wants to talk about her day and everyone wants to wee. Oh my god. Everyone wants to hear about my wee week. Man. That's crazy. They don't care. They don't care about me. I should just go. What's the point of talking if I'm not going to be loved? I'm out of here. Sayonara. What did you do on Wee Wee Wednesday? Funny you should ask. Rolled. Oh, sorry. The berries aren't working right now. I'll have to do it manually. There you go. There you go. Nande? Baby head pats. Anyways, so that was day 1. I think the highlight of my day 1 was going on that nighttime hike. It was very pretty. Very much enjoyed. Now she can't leave. Says you, what if I walked away with the jar? I can't do that, but what if, you know? What if? Speaking of the jar, I watched Secret World of Arietti yesterday again. And I remember why it's one of my all-time favorite movies. What this model is inspired after. A little bit. She's too powerful. Wee. Did you get a clear sky? I did! Well, there were a few clouds, but overall it was really, really nice. Plus, I was looking at the city, not the stars for that day, so yeah, it was really nice. Secret World of Arietti, yeah. It was... I mean, yeah, if you didn't catch the hint, a lot of my lore is inspired from Secret World of Arietti as well as my design. So, yeah, I must give credits to the queen herself. I love Arietti. Arietti. They pronounce it like Arietti, right? I think it's like they really overly pronounce it. Ugh. It's not about the ifs, it's about the cans. I was inspired by dead people. Good job. Okay, that was day 1. Day 2, I watched all of American Primeval. So I was definitely binging my first 2 days, binging shows. And then I had to do doctor stuff. Ew, I was fighting for my life on the phone for like 4 hours. So that was gross. But yeah, I got to do it and I slept like the rest of the time. So day 2, I didn't do much. I'm gonna be honest. other than fighting with the doctor and sleeping and watching movie shows. Yeah. Doctor stuff. Yeah, it was annoying, but I did take my gecko to the vet. He is doing much better now. So that was cool at least. At least he's doing better. Yeah. I'm happy that he's okay. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse than it was, but it ended up being alright, so. Eat more apples. I like apples, but strawberries are better. You got a gecko? I've got two! I've got two geckos. One is a leopard gecko and one's a crested gecko. What's the name? The names are Aristotle and Plato because they have no thoughts in their heads. So I thought it like because it's like the opposite, you know? Like, I don't know if I should explain it. Time to grind League. Pray for my mental. Took a break that lasted a month. Well, good luck with the League. I do not play that game for a reason, but I wish you the best of luck. Has Scoobert and Dubert. It's actually Scoobert and Gert. I got the name wrong. It's Scoobert and Gert, but Scoobert and Dubert would be better, right? They're good. They cannot go on those medications. It turns out the medications the doctor gave us for them to get rid of their parasites almost killed them. So we're gonna keep the parasites because they're not bad. They're just there. And we're trying to figure out what else to do with them. Yeah. But they're alive. Yippee. I spent a lot of time keeping them alive. Yeah. I wanted to make a gecko joke, but I forgot all the names deleted. Vallo 07 Vallo. We'll probably come back to you one day. Probably. Yeah, so yeah, the frogs are doing good. Thankfully. They are A-okay. We got a new pigeon though. Her name is Bernice. Who I found out is named after Bert's, is it Bert from Sesame Street? His pigeon apparently is called Bernice. I did not know that. So my boss was the one that named her. And she was like, I have my reasons for naming them and you don't trust me, but there's a reason she's named Bernice. And I was like, I'm sorry for doubting you, ma'am. I did not realize. Yeah. Hi, Bootops. Welcome in. How you doing? What would have been Gert's name if he was a gangsta? Scoobert. I mean, Dubert. Dubert. I wish he was called Dubert. The mental entry cost for Vallo is so high. I've been happier since I deleted it. I want to play every single day. We'll probably play it at some point. I really only play it with friends. I never play it solo. And I hardly ever play Calm. When I did play Calm, I played like maybe once a month. So I'm like silver right now. I think if I really tried to grind it, I could probably make my way up to plat. But like, nah. I'm lazy. Yeah. Mocktail mixer eye. Wait, Mocktail's mixer's eyes. I forgot how it goes. As long as the amount of Smurfs ain't reduced, I'm not coming back. We played like once every 3 weeks. Yeah, we did not play much. Yogurt. I see. Naruhodo. Ah, I see. Playing diamond lobbies, but I'm officially silver 3. Damn, that is unfortunate. If the frogs were in Symptoms, call him Dobert. Do. I've never watched The Symptoms, actually. I'm not going ranked ever. Yeah, you want to enjoy your life, right? Did you see Groot being able to talk? He was so happy instead of talking about Rocket. Really? I haven't seen it yet, no. I just wanted to make a pun. Ah. It was a good pun. I do want to hit Grandmaster and Rivals either this season or next. Yeah, for sure. I think we can. That's part of what I was trying to talk about over the week. Because yeah, I played a little bit of Marvel Rivals and officially got to Diamond in Marvel Rivals. Yippee! Yippee! Oh my god, look at this. Yeah. Why is my mouth doing that? Yippee! It's because I'm putting my hands in front of my camera. That's funny. I want to do ranked in Rivals next season. Carry me. Yeah, ranked is fun. Ranked is fun with the right people. Ever played the game that was once so sponsored it must have been the gold mine of the internet at the time? Raid Shadowlit. No, I have not. Do people actually play that? Hitting Diamond and playing Monster Hunter right after. No. Yeah. I forgot you saw that, y'all. Look, I was gaming, you know? I had to game. You used to. It was fun. Oh. Until it wasn't. Yeah. Anyways, day 3 of my week. I officially started the Natlan quest in Genshin. I lasted all of an hour before I turned off the game, but I started, so that's a plus, right? Yippee! I don't know how long that's gonna take me to finish. And the only reason I want to do the Natlan quest is so I can start doing my bounties, so I can get the wings for Ricely. So ultimately, it all leads back to Ricely. It's the only reason I play that game. For Ricely. Girl, my ping on your server is 500. That is unfortunate, Moody. We need to find you guys your own duos, you know? because as much as I would love to play with you all, I cannot. But I do think it would be fun to open up some customs and play with you guys that way. We can do like 6v6 or something, or I can even organize an event with other VTubers. I do think that would be fun. I don't know how to organize that yet, but I think it would be fun. Because a lot of you guys do play Marvel Rivals as well. 11 a.m. my time, I wake up to see Bubba and Monster Hunter. Yeah, that's... You guys don't need to call me out. You don't need to call me out like that. It's fine, we just make sure the rest of the server can turn that down to a modest 200. Think of it this way. The more the Arc Quest you do, the more likely you are to see Capitano. That is also the reason, yeah. But, so much yapping. How's your ping in the middle of East server? Ooh. Oh no, can I be on the team that's not against Brando? I don't think I'm allowed to be on the same team as Brando. If we do end up doing that, I would not be allowed to be on his team, so. Play Scarlet Witch, so lag won't matter. Match found, lurk bound. Thank you for the lurk, Ancient Monarch. Thank you. I think that would be your second best. Yeah, so day 3, started the Natland quest, and I also deep cleaned my gecko's cage and my room, so it was kind of just a chill day. Yeah, did a little gaming, did a lot of cleaning. Almost every single day I went on some sort of hike. So I posted the pictures on Twitter. Yeah, I'm kind of just vibing. Yeah. So yeah, let's see, the rest of the week is went on a hike, collected flowers, played Monster Hunter Marvel Rivals. Another hike, saw a pair of turkey vultures. Oh yeah! One of my hikes, I saw a pair of turkey vultures. I think they had a nest nearby because they were really close to the sidewalk. And one of them came out of what looked like a little burrow, like, or something. And they were really close. It was super cool to see. Yeah. I never played with Brando, but even I know this dude is good. I don't like playing against Cap, Thor, and Wolvie. Yeah, his 3 mains. Yeah, but that was cool to see, the turkey vultures. Yeah, I like that. Hiking is great. And I happen to live in an area where there are a lot of trails around me, so... Oh, I gotta stretch. Everyone make sure to stretch. Wee. I can't stop. How many hikes did you do? I went on one almost every day, so probably like 3 or 4. Yeah. I do one and that's all for the week. They're not long hikes. They're like anywhere between 3 to 5 miles. They're not long. Wee. Well, enough about me. How was your guys' week? What did you guys get up to? Anything notable happen? Anything you want to yap about? 3 to 5 miles isn't long. For a hike? For a hike, I don't think so. Usually hikes are like 10 miles, right? I only hate playing against Spidey and Panther. I don't have the mechanical skill to consistently kill them. That's why I use Namor. I don't want to track those guys. No. That's like one day at Anime Expo. True. I really had fun. I went to my first convention earlier this year. Was it this year? No, last year. And I really had fun with it. But I don't think I could go to bigger ones. Like Anime Expo, as much as I want to go, it's so big. And I don't do super well in crowds like that. So smaller conventions, maybe. You finally finished the comic you were working? Was that the one you posted in the Discord? It looked amazing. Yeah, that looked incredible. I'm so proud of you. I've been posting my frustrations in the Discord. That's all right. Maybe I should post like event channel. So those of you guys that do want to vent your frustrations can write it in there instead of general. I feel like I could do that. The one we went to wasn't the biggest, but it was still quite large. That one was okay. I didn't think that one was that bad. Actually, I liked that one a lot. Anime Expo is terrifying, but I want the stuff that is there. I live too far away to even go. No, I live... Well, actually, let me not dox myself, but... Yeah, they have a lot of stuff. The whole time I was at the other anime... was it Anime Expo? SAC Anime, I think? The whole time I was looking for Claude merch, and we finally found it on the last day. And I also ordered some of his merch online, but it's coming from Japan, so I don't know when it's gonna arrive. But one day, it shall arrive. I've never been to any convention. There aren't much around here. Oh, yeah, I mean, it was my very first one last year, and I had a lot of fun. I want to go to more panels next time around, maybe. But sometimes you have to pay extra for them, so I don't know. I need to cosplay Joker from Persona 5 one of the... Oh, that would be cool. If I could cosplay anyone, I mean, the easiest one for me would be Alma. But like a hard cosplay, who would I? Maybe Beto. I think I'd cosplay Beto maybe, but I'm not comfortable showing my legs like that. Maybe I'd put leather pants on or something instead. Kind of change up her cosplay just a tiny bit, but I would do Beto. Sack anime, yeah. I cosplayed Kazuha last. Really? See, I want to have the confidence to cosplay. I've never even had a Halloween costume before. So, but one day, you can wear tights maybe or pants. Yeah. I think leather pants would be cool actually. Because, I mean, Alma is easy for me, but Beto would be kind of cool too, I think. I have the build for it. I could just wait, you're not allowed to bring weapons in though. I own a little bit of Bubba lore if you didn't know. I'm a martial artist, and I own a lot of weapons. Like real weapons, like glaives and lances and spears and swords and a lot of swords. I don't think they would let me use those. A lot of them are show swords, but some of them are still really sharp, so I don't think they'd let me use those. Wee. Stop! Stop! Stop enabling me! Stop! My goodness. Last con I was femme de luke with my tits out and dudes could not stop. Power to you. Femme de luke is awesome. I love that. The boys and I are wanting to go to an anime con, dress up as a wizard and get hammered. That would be fun. Have you considered going to the Ren Fair? Because I feel like that could suit you as well. I saw a Beto cosplay in the wild one time, but I couldn't see her from the front. Like, goddamn, I saw a Gallagher cosplay, and the man had the build for it too. Like, this guy was buff. And I don't know if I've told you guys about my experiences at conventions before, but like, or just cosplayers in general. When I see a cosplayer that is like too good looking for me, I feel like I'm not allowed to look at them. Like, do I have to pay to look at you? Is this allowed? Because, and I get so embarrassed. I got so embarrassed. Like, you want to take a picture with them? No, I don't want to take a picture, actually. I'm not allowed to stand in their presence, actually. No. No. You like to collect knives? Got like 12 now. I have a lot of pocket knives as well, yeah. There was a Sino cosplay at AX 2023. Dude was... I would like to see that. I gave the biggest side eye. Dude, he was cool. I saw a Ricey and a Hytham one as well. And I was like... close my eyes. I'm not allowed to see this. Close my eyes. I'm not allowed to see this. Me with the Navia cosplayer I saw from afar. It's like... Man, oh, people like that exist in the same world as me? Wow. Wow. Right. Yeah, I wanna get better at it. I have upped my gym routine from twice a week now to 4 days a week because I've been building my way up. Because I am determined. Summertime. I need the muscles back. You know, we're shedding the winter fluff and we're bringing back the summer what rhymes with fluff? I don't know. Muscle, though. Yeah. She was so cute and bubbly. Oh, she even suited the personality. That's adorable. I would just be like, yeah, cosplayers are hot. They're so cool, man. They're so cool. I want also to cosplay Echo, but specifically when he was wearing the mask and the jacket, because obviously, you know, can't really cosplay him, but I want his outfit. You know, he had the owl mask and the really long jacket and the skateboard. I thought that was cool. I really love his mask. And I performed at a con. Pause! Wait a minute! You performed at a con? My god, I love it when people's random lore just drops. There were so many child cosplayers. Now, why the fuck did they all have to be ripped? Like, dude, it's just... They were ripped. Usually when I see child cosplayers, they're like a different build. I don't know what I should say, but you know, they got the they got the twink build. Wee. You guys are doing this on purpose, I swear to god. But they're going full Taicho with hikes and gym. That's why I said you may call me Taicho. Yeah, I'm not as active as it used to be, but I still try. Chad, I can't stop wee. I'm still mad I didn't get a picture. I don't want to be in the picture. Can I just take a picture of them? I don't want to be in the picture with them. I was singing a really emotional song, and I was there like, hey, what? Hey, girly. Hold still. My Monster Hunter cat is named Vivi. What do you mean? It wasn't stuck in my head from day one. Wee wee wee. Wee wee wee. You can just take pictures of them, obviously ask. I can't do that either. I'm shy. I'm shy. Ugh. Man. Brando would though, and I'd be mortified. He'd be like, hey, my friend wants to take a picture of you. Can she do that? And I'd be like, how could you do this to me? How could you do this to me? Why? How could you? I exist and hello. Hi, Neutral. How you doing? Welcome in. I ain't care. Yeah, socially awkward and awkwardly social. Bubba and Brando. There are a few moments where Brando can be shy, but it's pretty rare. Too high social skills required. Yeah, I've not unlocked that yet. I'm level 5, you know, and it requires level 50. It's a compliment to people. I know, but I no. It's the same feeling as going to a friend's house and then being like, Mom, Jay says she's hungry. Yeah, why can't you just say I'm hungry? Why do I have to say she's hungry? Now it feels like you're blaming me for being hungry. And yeah, no. I would rather die thirsty than ask for water at a friend's house. Anytime they're like, yeah, feel free to like grab whatever you want from my fridge. I'm not doing that. Oh, feel free to ask if you want what. I'm not doing that either. I will just die. I'll just die. Just take one for the team. We are hungry. We. The social side be real. Yeah. We are Fanta. I fires. Bum ba da ba bum ba bum. We. We. Note to self, just hand Bubba a cup of water. She's over. Yeah, because I'm not gonna. No, I usually bring my own water bottle now, so I don't have to ask. Make Bubba take the water. We would like to play. We used to make our little sibling go tell mother. Yeah, you know, when in doubt. But I am the little sibling. Well, not really. Sorta. It's complicated. Are y'all French with all the wees? I'm here. Yeah, wee. No, you don't know where that's from, Killjoy? I recommend looking up the wee cat. Now wee. Wait, how does Venom sound like? Wee. That sound like freaking Venom. Not Venom. It sound like Gollum. Wee. I don't think that's how Venom sounds like. He's got wee. How does he sound like? I've known Pookie for years. We just enter each other's pantries. The only house I'm comfortable... I don't know if there's any house I'm comfortable doing that. Actually, the only house I was comfortable doing that in was my partner in martial arts. Because we were at each other's houses every day to practice. So I was comfortable in her house, but that's about it. Yeah. This is so cursed. Just say that you're laughing. Just say that you enjoy it. You don't have to be embarrassed, okay? Just say you like it. Badass Venom is no more after what they did recently. The twerking. He was never badass, let's be honest. I mean, he was just kind of funny. We. We. No, I don't know. Yeah, now it's just big ass Venom. He got them buns. He's someone keeps saying that Namor has cake and I don't see it at all. I mean, Namor has a nice back, but I don't see the cake. To be honest, like you're trying to compare that to Venom? Doesn't exist. Like, I'm judgmental when it comes to the baklawas. Sorry, because like no. It takes a real badass to throw it back like that. On God, can you twerk like that? Because if you can't, you're not a baddie. Just saying. All Venom now looks like a bunch of goo. Excuse my cultured people. The orange is fun though. I might switch back to the black though. I kind of don't like the orange. You know who got cake? This guy right over here. Get a load of this guy. Get a load of this guy. I gotta sit up. Hold on. I'm really curious, what kind of martial arts do you know? I've practiced a lot. Can I talk about it? Yeah, I'm gonna talk about it. Yeah, the one that I practiced the most was Kung Fu. But I also learned Taekwondo, Karate, Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and a teeny tiny bit of Tai Chi. Yeah. Did you use your token on? I haven't gotten it yet. Actually, I think I got it. I played a little this morning and I forgot to redeem it, but I'm gonna use it on Magic because I like Magic skin. someone on my TikTok, I posted a video of me trying to get heals from Mantis, but I was using magic, and someone on the TikTok was trying to explain to me magic's combos, because God forbid I forgot to use the melee on magic. And then in my comments, I'm like, thank you for the advice. I will do that eventually. I'm still learning. Traffic time, happy chatting. Drive safe, Rose. Still can't get over when you were talking about muscle separators. Yeah, did you guys know that when you grab someone's arm, for example, if you're in an arm hold, you can dig your nails in such a way that you separate the muscles and it hurts. Like there's really obvious muscles in the arms that you can do that in. I do fight dirty. That's how I was taught. Yeah. Use yours on Psylocke. Oh, nice. They have okay, Winter Soldier. Oh my god. Yeah, I trained a lot for many, many years. You have side buttons on your mouse? I do. But they're already linked to some. They're linked to my mute buttons. So yeah, they're linked to my mic. I love a girl who can kick my ass. I'm quite rusty now. I haven't practiced in a few years. But the muscle memory still exists, so that's good at least. Oh, I did kickboxing as well. I forgot about that. Yeah, I was debating on training for the MMA at one point. So I learned a bunch of different styles. Let's just say, guys, when I say that I did martial arts, I mean that I was sponsored. I went to national tournaments. I almost did like I was, yeah, I don't want to say too much, but yeah. It was my whole life at one point. And then chronic illness kicks in, and there goes that. And now I'm a VTuber. Hi, VTuber this. Bubba would be murders at arm wrestle. I've never tried. Arm wrestling kind of kills your arms. It's not really good for your joints. Arm wrestling Bubba and loses all feeling in upper biceps. I used my side button as melee because V is too far. That's what I was saying. I was saying V is too far. And someone was like, V is not that far. You just like, that's, I'm like, it's awkward though. It's awkward. Nah, I'd mess her up. Trust. It's opposite day. Girl, that's crazy. The lower. Yeah, but I still work out. That's why I like to work out. I like to stay in shape. But I admit, I think I'm quite squishy right now. Compared to how I used to be, especially. So that's why I'm working out a lot more. I'm upping my routine. It's about damn time. Can't be lazy forever, you know? In the future, we should organize VTuber boxing. Forget YouTube boxing. I get afraid I'm gonna hurt people. So yeah. One time I did one of those punching bag arcade games with Brando, and I missed the bag. I fully just missed. It was very embarrassing, but also very funny. I was with Brando, and we're like, yeah, let's just test our punch strength, and I missed. To this day, one of my most embarrassing moments. V is way too far. I couldn't get used to it. Now it's way easier. I wonder, is R used for anything? Maybe I should put it on R. I know I use E a lot. She like grazed it, so it hit. Yeah, it was like 5 damage or something. Yeah, it was really funny. But you're quite strong both mentally and physically. I try. I think, I don't know. I think I like to push myself. And I do like to be strong physically and mentally. I feel like, you know, what's holding me back, right? Why wouldn't I be? Reload. You're right, I do use... What about... It's just everything is so far away, man. What if I just put 4 as my melee? I don't know. It like bounced off the pad. Yeah! It's also, it didn't help that I hadn't done martial arts in a very long time. And I was like pressured because Brando's gonna expect me to do well. And I was like nervous and I was like, and so I missed it. Honestly, hey, it keeps the mystery, right? You'll never know. She wants the 1v1 karate. I did karate a long time ago, and it wasn't for very long. I had the type of teacher that would constantly put down my other styles that I practice. It'd be like, I'll show you this kick. Yeah, you can't do that in Kung Fu, can you? Or my stance would be too low because in, you know, the other styles, we go in a lower stance. And he was like, this isn't your Kung Fu. This is karate, and we don't do it like this. I'm like, why do you have to bring that up all the time? Just teach me the stance, man. You seemed very insecure. It was very annoying. Yeah. I just talked about the mom Jay's hungry. I can't fight, I can run. I don't know if you know this, Plank, but I was in track and field as well. And I went to state finals. I think the only thing I'm ever talented in is physical stuff, man. First throwing you to the walls. Are you literally saying you'd run me down? I can't do distance, but I can do a short. Like I was a sprinter, so. Like, what have you done? I'll just hire him for myself. Don't worry. I also did archery. Oh. Sorry, the hidden lore. Okay, Hawkeye. I didn't do archery for very long, but don't worry about it. I just want to use the clip somewhere. Okay. Huh. I don't need a hitman for that. I'm about to hit you. Girl, is there anything you didn't do? I grew up in a very active family. So I kind of wish I could have learned music because I'm really interested in music. I'm really interested in instruments and singing. Didn't learn anything. We moved around so much as a kid that I didn't even get to learn the freaking recorder. Everyone learns the recorder in school, not me. So I didn't get to learn any music or any like art stuff. My family was very active because I'm a farm girl. So yeah, that's kind of why I did so much like sports and stuff. Dead Bubba literally spent her youth prepping for the Hunger Games. Kind of felt that way, not gonna lie. Yeah, but life changes very quickly. You know, getting hit with a chronic illness kind of, I can't keep up the way I used to anymore. So I kind of had to adjust. And I still do my best to stay as much in shape as I can, but it's definitely a lot tougher now, and I have to be kind to myself. The glory days sure are over, but that's okay. All right. I was a band kid in high school. Hearing you talk is making me tired. I wanted to do band. I tried joining our band team in high school. Band whatever, but they said that you couldn't join if you didn't know an instrument. I thought maybe they would teach me, but they wouldn't let you in if you didn't already know an instrument. Bro would have slapped in marching band, music plus active. I wish, but they wouldn't let me join. Hi Lexi Moon, welcome in. Hi. Hot cross buns. Speaking of song, do Avid cover? What's that? Avid? Yes, cover. More covers. All the covers. I've been singing. I sure have. Just gonna say your high school was snooty AF. Yeah, my high school was very snooty. I did not belong there. I worked in the cafeteria while everyone else was driving their Jeeps and their Mustangs. Okay, I did not belong there, but it's okay. It was definitely the poor kids. I was the one serving the rich kids. That's how bad it was. It's fine. A song I really love. I don't know if I know it. God, there's like this thing I'm trying to get. Okay, I'm just gonna stop. Actually, do I need to stop? Wait. Do I have it here? Do I have you? No, I don't. Sad. Sadly relatable. Yeah. Learned a lot, you know, the gap between rich and poor, for sure. Yeah. I got a former friend to join my high school's band and they learned an instrument from scratch. Yeah, I really wish I could have, but it's okay. Maybe one day. I don't know. I want to learn piano, maybe. I wanted to learn guitar. I started learning it, but it was really difficult with my disability, so. The only prereq in drumline was being able to count to 4. My mom used to be a drummer. I found out that she was a drummer in a high school band, and I was like, oh, that's so freaking cool. What? My mom was a drummer. The only drums I've ever done was the Chinese drumming. Because I was on a lion dance and a dragon dance team. So I used to perform in like the Chinese New Year's parades and stuff. I was on TV. Ha ha ha. I used to perform in those really high-end parades and stuff. The main thing in school I was good at was yapping, ASB, and volunteer. You definitely give me ASB vibes, Brando. I get it. Perks of living in a small town is the only way to know if someone's richer than you is by going to their house. Damn. Yeah, no. Most people didn't go to my house. I joined my school's band, but that ended real quick before it even began. How come? To be fair, I grew up better than those kids, so I suck it. Roll number 31. Oh no. Feel free to come over for that. We got a piano. My mom is really good if you want to. Would she? No, like really? The biggest reason that I can't do lessons and stuff is I can't afford it. But I would love to, and I also don't have one at home to practice. So. What's ASB? ASB, like student president type stuff. A student council. So going to board meeting sucked. Yeah, he was in student council. He was the ASB president too, so he was student president. Literally, Brando has the Kaguya-sama. Wait, what was it? What was the anime called? Love is War? Yeah. I love you, mister. Oh, mister. Kaguya-sama, yeah. We had school captains and prefects. Oh, like Harry Potter! Have you ever received that? You know, when you hear about, like, British/Australian things, and they're like, yeah, we had schoolhouses, we had prefects, and people are like, oh my god, like Harry Potter! Sorry to say that it was the other way around. Harry Potter was based off of the currently established system. I could even help with some of it, but she's better than me. Oh, really? But I can help with music reading. Music reading is so hard. I learned piano. The little that I know is just by watching people play and copying their movements. Because people kept trying to teach me how to sight read and stuff. Ugh, my brain does not wrap around it. So I was like, just teach me the hand movements and I'll memorize that. Not gonna lie, I didn't do shit in high school, so I can't talk about anything cool. I'm sure you did more than you realize, though. I did way too much, but yeah. Are all of you gifted? What kind of isekai did I fall in? I just kept myself busy because I didn't want to go home. I cannot read anything but drum notation. That sounds cool, though. That sounds really cool. You were Kaicho? You were Kaicho! You kind of look like him, I think. You kind of have like the same vibes anyways. I'm ass at reading piano music, much better at clarinet because it's one note at a time. Oh. Yeah, but I want to learn an instrument so badly, and I can't do like windward instruments. I will pass out. I don't have the lung capacity for that, you know? I have beginner books that teach about reading and finger. Really? That's cool. I did professional yapping, motivational speeches and meetings. I was also in MUN, but forced because my mother wanted me to learn basically speech and debate because my mother wanted me to get better at public speeching because that's correct. Yes, I got so much better at public speeching, guys, that now I'm a VTuber and I say things like speeching. I learned sheet music then taught myself piano. That's so cool. You play piano too? I love that. I love learning about you guys. Way to dox yourself, Brando. Way to dox. All I did in school was fall so many times from different places without breaking anything. You know, that's a talent in itself. Because I broke my ankle running to catch the bus, and I tripped on the stair and broke my ankle. So that's more embarrassing, okay? That's the farm kid life, though. Signing up for school stuff to avoid going home. You get it. You get it, MC Khan. Welcome in, by the way. Yeah, for sure. My mom would probably be good to learn from then. She also does music mostly without any sheet music, just from her. Don't ask me how. Witchcraft. Is she the type that's like a genius where she like listens to something and is like, oh, like this, and then just plays it? Because that's crazy. I got hot pink hair and yellow eyes. Oh my god. Really pop. I speak the public speeching too, but now I gotta count to 20 before every presentation. I hated school presentations. That's, by the way, also some lore. The reason why I know how to do video editing is because a lot of times the teachers would be like, you need to do a presentation for your class project with yada yada yada, and I would ask them, hey, is it okay if I make a video instead, because I really don't like speaking, you know, in public? And they're like, yeah, that's fine as long as it's, you know, good quality. So I learned how to edit videos so I could pre-record them and make like a videography of everything. That's how I learned how to edit videos. So I wouldn't have to public speak. Yippee! You did that too? Yeah, that's how I learned. And I wasn't like, it wasn't that difficult, but they always thought it was crazy good because, you know, you learn how to YouTube, you learn how to Google things, and yeah. Shut, Bubba. No, but she'll just sit down and play a whole amazing ass song, and I'll be like, oh, that's a cool new song. And I'm like, whoa, that's so crazy. Oh, that's amazing. I hosted a TED conference once. That taught me enough about... You host... That's freaking cool, Blank. What? You guys are so talented. I love this. That's amazing. I low-key miss public speaking. Was your adrenaline rush? I don't need that adrenaline. I can yap to you guys because you're just words on a screen to me. So really, I'm just yapping to myself. You guys are the wee-wee-wees in my head. Wee-wee. That's how you guys sound, by the way, when I'm streaming and I see your little messages as you guys talk to me. I just hear you guys in that voice. Wee wee wee. Wee wee. That's what you guys sound like to me. I hurt myself in football, so I video recorded and edited it. Oh, I see. Wait, for what? Just for your presentation? Australian wee wee wee. Wait, because they're like, oh, clear, no. My only talent is music, and that is an amazing talent to have. Do you have any idea how, like, amazed I am by musicians? Anyone that could do any type of music, because I can't. I don't have the brain for it, because I grew up very active, right? So that is amazing. Trust me. Wee wee wee. Wee wee wee. Wow wow. Are we words, colors, characters in your head? You guys are the wee wee wees in my head. You guys are more... You guys are words in my head. If I had to think about it, really. German wee wee wee. Wee wee wee. Wee. I was practicing, guys, this is how, like, much grass I was touching. I was practicing how to do a hummingbird call. Can I do it? Can you hear this? I'm trying to imitate hummingbirds right now so I can get them to come closer. I want one to land on my finger one day. It's getting there. I'm getting close. Do you have an animal character you associate your friends to? That's a good question. I always imagine Jay as your little character from your PNG. Most of the time, if you guys already have PNGs, then I imagine you as your PNGs. But if you don't, you're just words in my head. It was my replacement for football. I just recorded football games to play on our local... Oh, got you. Permission to drop some of my old music stuff? Yeah. You can either put it in self... I think you can probably put it in self-promotion. In the self-promotion channel. Or the... Do we have a music channel? Or the music channel, whichever you're more comfortable with. Yep. Hummingbirds make calls? Yeah, if you get the chance to listen to them, they kind of sound just like that. My friends call me a hermit. I'm also a hermit. Do you imagine you as Navia? For some reason, Rold, you're just yellow. Like the color yellow in my head. Probably because of the Nadia Pia, but you're just yellow in my head. Hamoodi's also just green in my head. Yeah. You guys are just colors for me. I'm stuck as a word till I spawn in as a PNG. Your name is Blank, so you just blank in my head. You would be an A for a sheet of paper. Blank. You know what? Kind of true, though. Oh, wow. Okay, then. The number 7, even though I know it's the letter Ha, but it's like 7 and green. What am I? A munchie. Right now, because of your name, I imagine a cookie. If it switched down tree. Brando be Brando. Well, I know what you look like in real life, so you're Brando. Yeah. I'm just a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude. Killjoy, because your name is Killjoy Joker, I imagine you as Killjoy from Valorant. I'm gonna be so honest. I imagine you as Killjoy. Funny, I hate 7. What's your favorite number then? My favorite number is 3. I really love... Those that know me know why, but I really love the number 3. Brando is uppies, Skeleton. Uppies! 2, 10. You like to. I wonder why. All of you have specific faces in my head, and Brando has pink hair and yellow eyes. Brando has pink hair and yellow... Girly pop! Wait, why pink hair and yellow eyes? Trying to imagine it. You should draw them out. You should draw them out. Do you guys ever like take a shower, or like you're going to the bathroom, or you're walking along the street and you see these cracks or like faces in the sidewalks or the walls, and you want to draw them out, but by the time you get home you forget them? Do you guys ever see faces in things? I swear there's so many like cracks in the wall or like weird water stains or whatever that look like faces, or even the clouds, that like I want to draw them out, but I always forget by the time I get home. Should bring a sketchbook with me, but that's too much commitment. I got pink hair and yellow eyes. I'm just imagining your Skelly version, but with like a pink wig and yellow eye holes. Yellow glowing eyes. You see faces in the darkness? Why does that sound like a song? Some lyrics, some song lyrics. No? It kind of sounds like one. That sounds so cursed. That sounds so cutest. Cursed. Fuck. I actually wrote a poem about this. Now that I think about it, hold on. Let me see. You're getting this poem for free. Where is it? Wait, did I not write it? I did. Oh, wow, I wrote a lot of poems this week. Jeez. Okay, well, this one's for free. Brenda is just Brooke from One Piece. Never watched One Piece. I'm sorry. Corsette. Le corset pot. What is that? Okay. I don't know if I've read this one to you guys, but this poem is called Clouds. Ready? Sometimes I like to look up at the sky and draw the clouds that passes by. I see a bird, a whale, an odd-looking seal. Who would have thought simple things help us heal? I love cloud watching. I realize I do a lot of old people hobbies, but they're peaceful and they make me happy, so. What the fanciest of witches used to cook. I think winches. Anyways, I think witches had the right idea. Honestly, they're living the life. True. they're living the life, man. Wee wee wee. Wee wee wee. There, got her. Man, I'd love a full stream of just poetry, creative writing from Bubba. We did a stream like that once. Well, it wasn't poetry, but it was more like people gave me a word and I created VTuber models or like concepts from the word that they gave me. So, kind of like that. I'm already a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. I'm a what? You're a wizard, Harry. For me, I have your model as my image of you in my head. Brandon, for some reason, a skinny doctor. Okay. She has her line dropping, but hyper energetic. Jaya is his PFP. Patat as an Arabian princess. Patat as an Arabian princess. That's funny. So you're close. Yeah. I'm bored with Patat being an Arabian princess. This is canon now. You know, she has a VTuber model, right? She's got a little poof ball, but she also, her aesthetic, she wants, if she ever gets a VTuber model, she wants green eyes, green hair and pink eyes. And she's got like a very cyberpunk energy. There isn't much you could model me off of. You are just a letter, because you're an email. Ah? Yeah? Kinda on board with Arabian Princess Pota. You're saying that, and the Arabian Princess is right in front of you. What? Me? I'm the Arabian Princess. How dare you? How dare you? I'm the Arabian. What? You're a DJ? By the way, do you want me to just call you Khan? Or do you want me to call you MC Khan? Do you want me to just call you MC? How would you like me to call you? We already knew you were an Arabian princess. Make her a Vietnamese princess. Now you have a sister. And I am the next president of the USA. I'm actually Arab, okay? She's not. Look. No, you're a baklava loving berry. Okay, two things can be true. Okay, two things can be true. MC is fine. Got you. Okay, I remember MC. Abigail and Lynn called me MC. Got you. But what do you want to be called? You don't have to settle. Whatever you would like. I never questioned the Arab part. It's the princess part. You're saying I'm not princess material. Then look at this. Look at this. Does that not look like princess? Is that not princess enough for you? Is this dress not princess enough for you? Do I not look like a princess? Excuse me? Is this not princess enough for you? Huh? I forgot you were gonna fight. No, I'm sorry. Go on. Okay, a non-Arabian princess. We can't be appropriating on behalf of Patat. Bubba, crash out. What if I just want to be a princess? What if I want to be? Oh, sorry, my throat berries are broken. I have to do it manually, but here you go. Welcome back. Do we typically see princesses' knees? Not every princess is the same. Now, I'm a magical princess. I'm the berry. Why are you guys being so feisty today, huh? Why are you guys being so sassy? Huh? The Princess of Genovia says yes. It's true. Modern day princesses do. They wear whatever they... Well, they don't wear whatever they want, but their dresses sure are different, yeah? You're a princess, Hermione. Strawberry shortcake? On God, on God. Speaking of, I got some updates on the 3.0 model. Still can't give you a full date, but we're getting closer, guys. I know we had to wait a long time. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. I am going to go crazy, but we're getting closer. Soon. Soon, but not yet. Trust me, pets. Mother knows best. But I'm very excited for that as well. Very, very, very excited. I've been actually planning out how I'm gonna make the teaser video, because I want to make a little teaser video and post it on Twitter for everyone. So this is gonna be the only time that I'm gonna like ask you guys to tell your friends, tell your family, tell whoever, because I worked hard. Tell everyone to show up. Can someone give me the lore of Mark 3. Mark? What? Looking forward to it. Thank you. After 8 hours, I finally made a breakthrough on a project. Yippee! Congratulations! Can I tell your dog? You can absolutely tell your dog. Model 3.0. Oh, the lore? You will get the lore. But that is a secret. There is new lore written though. But the real reason why I'm getting a new model is because the artist associated with this model has had AI allegations, and I did not want to be tied to it. So yeah, so I commissioned a new model, and yeah. I'm gonna go to a laptop. Phone betrayed me with spell check. Yeah. So they claim, because they're a company, they claim that the artists that made the other models, they didn't know that they used AI. But I'm like, you're the manager, you should know. I don't want to be involved with this. So yeah. AI art is gross. Yes. Salute to that. This stream created a miracle. Yippee! Yippee! I'm very happy for you. I'm very proud. Oh my god. I feel like I got some of the yaps out anyways. Just a few, just a little. My pupils change when you talk, or is the no sleep catching up? My pupils, if you well, thank you for the hydrate. When I blink. When I blink, my eyes do a little wiggle. Is that what you were asking? See? You can go even closer. So I joined all your guys' streams and everyone's getting a new model. Who else is getting one? Oh, you know what? That's just coincidence. I know BL was inspired by a few different people. Probably because a lot of us were, but yeah. There's a lot of new tech out there with rigging as well. So a lot of people are wanting to experiment with the new tech as well. So that could be part of it too. So I'm not crazy. 70% Moon Knight. What does that mean? I'm okay with AI art if you want to use it for yourself because you don't know how to draw, but sharing it or taking credit for, or worse, making profit off of it is huge. I don't like it at all, but I think that is a preferred version of what, like, if you have to. But honestly, I'd rather draw a stick figure. I think I've mentioned this on my Discord announcement before, but I would rather someone draw a stick figure and learn through the process, you know, look at like poses and stuff. You can pose off of yourself even, then use AI art. There's so many things people can do other than use AI art. Because at the end of the day, it's still stealing from other artists. So, just, nah, it's just icky. Lynn. Oh yeah, Lynn is. Yeah, that's just a coincidence. Honestly, I tried streaming on a different channel, and from my experience, I don't know how you and every other streamer does it. It was so unnatural. What do you mean? Like just talking, or I'm AI art? No. AI assistance on your own data? Okay, yeah. AI can be good for certain things, but I don't like using it for creative endeavors. AI is great for like help with coding, for help with like, I don't know, medical stuff, but not for creative endeavors. Yeah. Doesn't matter to me. I'm too broke to pay AI that can draw. Just do little stick figures. No, I mean, obviously artists put in a lot of work to be able to draw the way they do. There's no one that's like naturally talented like that. It's all hard work. And maybe someone is more inclined to draw more, they have the passion for it, but at the end of the day, they still put in a lot of practice to be able to get to the point where they are. And it's very rude to them to just use AI to steal that, right? OBS Studio was a nightmare to set up, and talking on stream feels unnatural. I started streaming because I already yap a lot. And I already I talk to myself a lot too. So I was like, may as well just do it on stream. And OBS, once you get the hang of it, is easy. But I think Streamlabs can be easier if you're starting out and you have no one to teach you. But I started out with OBS. I just taught myself through YouTube, and yeah. I like OBS more than Streamlabs just because I have more control over it. I have a lot of sources and a lot of things that I do, you know, even with my VTuber, like having all of my toggles, like all of this, for example. It's a lot easier to do with OBS. And I have a lot of scene overlays and stuff. So I just like the customizability, is that even a word, of OBS over Streamlabs. I know I used to draw so much, it's not something easy, and having it just get stolen from you is, yeah, exactly. People fork out money for AI to do art. Wouldn't one use that money for art lessons? Yeah, or commissioning an artist to do it for you? Right? Yeah. I think you have to pay for it. Just pay an artist. What the frick, man? Just, if you have that money, and then just go commission an artist. Huh? It's not that hard. I don't understand. I don't understand. Or people do that for like the business. They pay a subscription to make AI art so that they can then post it on an account and get like 1,000, 1,100 likes or something. I don't know. No, it's more like 100,000 likes, and then they get paid for it. And it's just shitty. It's shitty. You think they spend it for real work? Because at the end of the day, they're not there for the art. They're there to make money off of it. Yeah, the same as like every other scammer, right? Oh, welcome back, Lynn. I swear, when I was good at drawing, I would have drawn whatever anyone wanted for just 50 cents. There's like a meme somewhere where someone asks an artist for a commission, and they're like, the artist is like, oh yeah, how much do you want to pay for it? And the customer is like, I can pay up to $250, and it shows the artist backspacing like a shawarma and like a bottle of Gatorade. They're like, yeah, 200 is fine. Lurking while finishing honey lemon soda. No, don't worry at all. I hope... I want to watch that anime. I really want to. It's one of my next ones. As someone who has her wallet crying for Mercy Monthly, I cannot wrap my head around this. Right? People are like that, though. That's you, Hamoudi. You should practice again if you want. I used to draw, like, dragons, specifically, a lot. But I don't really draw anymore. But my way of doing quote-unquote fan art for my friends as VTubers is making them edits and stuff. Because maybe not nothing, but it's really flattering people do fan art of you. It's like, oh, take the time out of your day to draw me. And so I want to like give that feeling to someone else, but I can't draw very well. So I do like stupid little edits and stuff. Let me tell you, the Tism vibes with this heroine are such... Really? I felt that about Skip and Loafer as well, and I really loved it. Stop buying Pokemon cards and give me that money. But the money will be used to feed a not hungry Blank. Why don't you give Jay money instead, huh? We should do Skip and Loafer next. God, Skip and Loafer was so cute. Skip and Loafer, I loved it. It was very, very cute. Feels similar to From Me to You. Yeah, I love romance anime. I used to, when I was younger, hide the fact that I liked like romance stuff because I had a lot of brothers, and you know, if you show anything feminine, you get teased for it. So when I was younger, I used to be that girl that was like, I hate pink, and I hate romance, and I hate pop music. And now I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, give me all the pink things, give me all the romance, give me the pop music. Fellas what? Fellas! It's kind of sad that I think about it. I used to be really good at drawing and editing, but now I can barely draw and edit. I'm sure you have the muscle memory. If you ever wanted to get back into it, you know, muscle memory still exists. Also, if you haven't commissioned Bubba for editing, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, I made a post about that. Considering branching out and actually doing more editing, because your girl needs to make money somehow. So I'm pretty confident now. The more that I'm editing, pretty confident in my skills. So, yeah. Never too late to pick it back up. I started drawing again only after I got my tablet. Yeah, it's never too late. Funny enough, the person who introduced me to anime was a young woman, so most of my earliest anime is romance. Aw, that's so cute. I started out the opposite. No, that's a lie. But when I watched my little romance show, it was like My Mermaid Melody. I watched that under my brother's bed with the little family laptop that I would steal, and I would watch it on YouTube, all of Mermaid Melody, and I would like, yeah, but very quietly because I would get like the little romance, you know, it's stupid Little Mermaid show. I loved it. I wanted to draw a manga. I still remember the plot of what I want. Save the idea. You still can. I haven't drawn in so long. Maybe I'll take cue from BL and try doodling some friends. It's just fun to doodle in general, right? It's fun to doodle. This Christmas, all I did was watch romance anime or sad anime. I love it. I don't really like watching sad stuff. That's the reason I stopped watching a lot of shonen anime. They get so stressful. I don't like it when people start dying too much. I get attached. I get really emotionally attached to characters. And in shonen anime, like Jujutsu Kaisen or My Hero Academia or Demon Slayer, people start dying. And I can't do that. It made me sad. And then I dropped the show because I'm like, how could they do this to me? And I don't want to watch it anymore. That's the cue to watch Your Lie in April. That's that time. I have watched it. I don't want to watch it again. Thanks. Kid me. I chose a male badass character to represent me. No, yeah, I love her. Women representation. We love to see it. I stopped watching Link Click because that's strictly be for when I want to bully myself into depressive. That's right! Like, if I actually want to be hitting the feels, I'll watch some of the stuff, but... How is Kaiju number 8? Because it kind of looks like a shonen. Does that get really stressful? Do people die a lot in that? Because I've been considering trying it. But then I've been hesitating because I'm like, am I going to get attached and then people are going to die? Because I do want to watch it. My first non-movie anime was Love Hina. I haven't heard that in a while. Love Hina? Oh my goodness. Wait. Just make sure that I'm remembering the right. Yeah. After watching Re:Zero, characters dying don't faze me anymore. Everyone talks about Re:Zero. Yeah, no. Kaiju number 8 is so good. Do people die in it though? People that I care about? I fear my favorite anime is Kami-sama Kiss. I love Kami-sama Kiss. Kami-sama. I don't know the Japanese for it, but I love it. Check out Toradora. I love Toradora. The kiss scene in there just makes me so happy. It's so cute. I read the manga for now. No one died. Okay, I'm trusting you. I'm old. Like, old. You're fine. You know it? Of course I know it. I love Kami-sama Kiss. It's so cute. The ellipses was me thinking. Oh, I have a Kaiju Lin art because the brain watt was so strong. Okay. I love that art, by the way. It looks so cool. I literally clicked it and I was like, damn! Damn, I want that! Have you seen Fairy Tail 100 Year Quest? I have, yes. Fairy Tail is one of the only shonen anime I've watched basically to completion. You know the kiss scene? Of course I do! What? Huh? Why are you guys surprised by this? I said I watched romance anime. Watch 86? Maybe. The day that I actually watch it, I think Hamudi will faint from surprise. Will you watch Kaiju number 8 with me? Mayhaps. Although I still have to watch Apothecary Diaries with my bestie. So it is very difficult for me to like officially say that I'm gonna watch things with people because I'm notoriously bad at like series because I get distracted and stuff. If I can't watch it all in one sitting, it is going to take us like a month or two to finish because I get busy. But I would love to. Why not watch One Piece? No one. Sir, do you know how many episodes are in One Piece? No, thank you. I'll forever worm in your ear asking you to please watch Bloom Into You. I have so much to watch. Are we at the age where Kami-sama Kiss and Toradora are old enough to be considered obscure? I know, but aren't those still like popular? No, are they not? Oh god, am I getting old? Black Butler is already getting to that point. Actually, I've not watched Black Butler, and I don't know. It's not really my cup of tea, but I know of it at least. All my earliest anime is from 1989 onward. Nothing wrong with that. Plus, watching older anime is still fun, you know? They had different vibes. It's very short and so fluffy. Oh, I see. How about this? You tell me when you feel like sitting down for a watch session and I'll just join. Totally your schedule, because even if I'm working, I can still be on my phone. Got you. Yeah. I want to finish Apothecary Diaries, though. I was vibing so hard with it. Like, I want to watch it tonight, but I think my bestie is probably busy. But the problem is, I'm watching with her. I'm more free on weekdays, and she's more free on weekends, because I work weekends, but she works weekdays, so that's why it's rough. I work from home and I'm completely output-based. I don't get micromanaged. You're living the dream, man. I wish one day I can make this editing thing a thing. Green Yuri is getting an anime. I don't know what is that? Either that or my math is bad. Main character basically is a villain. Black Butler's not a romance. Yeah. I know about it. Like Sebastian and Ciela. Phantom Hive. I know about it. It just never interested me. Apothecary Diaries is getting longer as season 2 comes out. Yippee! I love that. And I still need to finish my happy marriage. You do not know Green Yuri? No. The guy she was interested in wasn't a guy. Oh! I do know that one. Never mind. You want to watch Apothecary Diaries? Do. You'll love it. I'm a very, very big fan of historical fiction, especially historical fiction romances. And Apothecary Diaries is that. So all the K-dramas that I watch are always historical K-dramas. I love anything to do with historical stuff. So not small seasons either. 24 episodes. It's like the OG days. Bring back 24 episode seasons, man. Why do they? What's up lately with the 12 episode seasons, huh? I miss that. Since you used to do martial arts, you would enjoy Kenichi's Mightiest Disciple so much. I know what you're talking about, but I have not watched it. But I do know that name. I watched Black Butler for Sebastian and my queen Lizzie. You know, Sebastian's pretty popular. I think my bestie actually really likes Black Butler. Yeah. Which episode are you guys on? I want to say episode 6, maybe. Yeah. 12 episodes for single goddamn smooch, and then they never touch the anime. Right! Oh my god. If it's 2 seasons of 12 is acceptable, but otherwise, yeah. Also, I don't like stories in general, not just anime. Stories in general where the characters are already like being intimate or kissing at the very start. And I'm like, no! I need the longing. I need the pining. I need the build up to the kiss and the intimacy. I don't want it happening episode 1. I need the story first. Does anyone else feel that way? Slow burn? Yeah. But sometimes, but not like slow burn like Kimi ni Todoke. Good lord. Oh, but I still loved it. But oh my god. Yeah, I need the development, right? Has anyone seen Kiss Him Not Me? Yeah, but I gotta look it up because that also sounds very familiar. I'm really bad with titles. Kiss Him. Yeah, that was cute. The reason I like Kiss Him Not Me is because at the start, it seems like it's gonna be your typical anime where the fat girl suddenly becomes skinny and everyone loves her, which is kind of how it goes. But the reason why I love it is the guy that she ends up with is the guy that loved her no matter what. He loved her when she was chubby and he loved her when she was skinny, but ultimately he was like, I don't like it like when you starve yourself. I want you to be happy with who you are. And so she stays how she is and he marries her when she's chubby, and it's so freaking cute. And I just, yes. It's very cute. I really loved it. So yeah, Kiss Him Not Me, very good. Has anyone watched is it Moda Zushi stuff? Untamed or Heaven Officials? Yep. I have as well. They gave us a live action My Love Story with Yamariko at level 99 before season 2. What the frick, man? The frick. Established relationships are like, I need the process, show you're working. The only time established relationships are cute is if it's like a married couple that are badass, but you still get to see their cute moments of how they fell in love with each other, or they're like still very much in love, you know? But otherwise, I'm kind of like, eh. you know. I just finished the 3rd book in season 2 slap. Yeah, I need to. So much. There's so much, man. There's so much. I caught up on like 2 things. I finished Steins Gate. I finished Cherry Magic. I watched American Primeval. There's still so much I need to watch. Yeah. If it's slice of life, established relationships are fine. Like Way of the House Husband. Yeah. Oh, I also really love slice of life stuff as long as it's not sad. Slice of life and comedy. Like Barakamon is still one of my all-time favorites. I watch that when I need a good laugh, but I also like the relatability of it all. It's very cute. I will always recommend Barakamon. Also samurai stuff. I do like samurai stuff, I must say. They do the already in... Is MXTS Moda Zushi? Am I getting that right? I love Charlotte, not romance, but the end is cute. I know of Charlotte as well. I would also recommend Dr. Stone. No deaths in there. It's pretty fun. I think I watched the 1st season of Dr. Stone. But I didn't watch the 2nd one. I know the 2nd season came out recently. I'm nervous for I Want to Love You Till Your Dying Day because it sounds sad, but I want more Yuri. Yeah, but why do they always gotta make it sad, man? Why can't we just have happy? Why is it always gotta be doomed? I don't want it to be sad all the time, man. You read Samurai Champloo? I did. Always recommend Samurai Champloo. I also recommend Dororo and Sword of the Stranger. Bye-bye, have Rex for days. Yes! I feel like Samurai Gintama. Gintama gave me Naruto vibes though. Should I give it a chance? Because I've never watched Naruto and I don't like the vibes of Naruto, but Totemo fun watch. Yeah, Samurai Champloo is amazing. Plus the music was really good. Not an anime, but if people are good with gore, nudity, and love action, Blue-Eyed Samurai. I watched Blue-Eyed Samurai, actually. I watched the entire season of Blue-Eyed Samurai while I was on a plane to Korea. So I did watch Blue-Eyed Samurai. Kind of bold of me to watch that on a public plane, but I did watch it. Yep. And the couple gets together in a book, but you're only halfway in. If it's half, I mean, it depends on the couple, but yeah, it's kind of 50-50. Was it really good? Someone kept recommending it to me. Which one? It's Gintama, maybe. Blue-Eyed Samurai was so well done. It was. I am sad about the betrayals, but it was very good. Yes, you should give it a chance. It's one of those where it's like, ahaha, comedy, whoa. For Gintama? Gintama? No? Miscommunication trope. God, it's so annoying. It's so freaking annoying. Like, freaking talk to each other like grown adults, please. If it's in high school, maybe it's understandable because teenagers are dumb. But if you're grown adults, please, just talk to each other. Watching that on a plane is crazy. I gave no Fs. I did not care. Samurai Champloo? Yes, for Gintama. Yeah. I need to watch Blue-Eyed Samurai. Yeah. It's definitely... Watch it when you're alone. You could watch Alien Stage and suffer. No, I refuse. I remember when Alien Stage was big and a lot of the VTubers that I follow were talking about it and I was like, I'm good. I'm good. Miscommunication trope equals stop using my lived experience as a plot device. Lynn knows all about that. Hi, Fluffy. Welcome in. How you doing? Oh, hi, Miles as well. Welcome in. Brando, are you still here? Brando, are you still... Brando, I need help. Hello. Welcome in. Let me do this. It's fine. Let me give you guys your shout outs. There you go. Hold on. And then... There we go. Misunderstanding an anime is like a really bad thing that makes me just want to stop watching. Yeah. But welcome in, Miles, and also welcome in, Fluffy. We're talking about our favorite animes right now. Pretty basic topic, but we always love yapping about it. It's always miscommunication. God, I hate it. Yeah. You got shout-outed. Yeah. She got it handled. I mean, I gotta handle myself if my mods aren't here. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. I've heard so much about that. What is it even about? Keep hearing the name. People really like it. I also need to watch Freerun. I have so many people shouting at me to watch it. I know. I need to. I know. I'll get there eventually. But I was supposed to watch Solo Leveling with a friend. There's so much, guys. I'm being bullied by my sisters and managers at work to watch Bleach. I've heard about Bleach. The art style looks cool. I gotta say. It does look really cool. Aren't they like continuing it after like a super long time of not, like after a super long hiatus? What's one thing that will make you stop watching an anime mid-episode and never watch it again? When someone dies? Well, when someone I really like dies and they didn't need to. Yeah. Or the unnecessary fan service. Sometimes fan service can get too much, you know? And I'm like, ugh, you know? Love triangles. Ugh. Oh, harems. I hate like harem animes. Bleach is legendary. I've heard a lot about it, yeah. You must simply swear off grass and catch up on all anime ever. I know, but I'm a VTuber and I still gotta work on stuff off stream, you know? I still have to screw up my own VODs for clips. I still gotta edit. I gotta catch up on my friends' streams, you know? It's too much. I need commitment in my anime. Gotta lock in. If you want cozy anime by the grace of God, it's good. Ooh, what's that about? Unnecessary death, fair. Yeah. Long stretch explanations about everything. God, if I wanted to play Genshin, I'd play Genshin. I don't need this in my anime. Mine is when they bring out the creepy sister. Oh, the freaking sister complex? Or the brother complex? Sister or brother complex is... no, not for me. What I hate for an anime is Next Generation. It ruins the manga. I almost didn't finish Fire... What the frick? I almost didn't finish Fire Force... Ooh, where did my message go? Because of the fan service. No, I agree. I kind of stopped. I watched season 1 of Fire Force, but the fan service just got really bad. Yeah. By the grace of God is literally about taming slime and they do stuff. Oh. Kind of chill. This too, though I like when people make fun of that trope. Suruzuru children did it in a funny way. Why does that look so... Suruzuru children. Why does that look so familiar? Sure. I swear I've watched this before. Or I was going to watch it. I think I had it on my list. Had to push through the god-awful fan service. Oh, it's gone. Okay. I thought Fire Force was like satire because it's so purposeful and unnecessary. Yeah, no, for real. Me patiently waiting for Ruby news after 2 years. I have all the seasons on DVD. Nice. Fire Force is so goated that it made me push through the fan service. It just feels unnecessary. It is really goated. That's why I loved it. But then every once in a while they put this fan service in and I'm like, what? Okay. Weird, but alright. Same with Fairy Tail for me. Fairy Tail also had a lot of it. My first anime was Little Witch. Yes, Munchie! I want another season of Little Witch Academia so badly. No one talks about Little Witch Academia. That is one of my comfort shows. Oh, I want to rewatch it now. I need another season. It was... Thank you for mentioning it, Munchie. Thank you. It makes me so happy. I love Little Witch Academia. I want to be a witch in the woods. No, I really loved it. And I wish we had more. I want another season. You love the art for Little Witch manga? It's so good. It is. Just the artwork in general. Yeah. When it happens twice in one episode, I was like, come on. Yeah. Fire Force's OP was nice, but yeah, I didn't watch it because I heard the fan service. Yeah, it's annoying. Of course, I love them. It's so cute! Have you played the Witch in the Woods game? No, it's on my wish list, though. I thought it wasn't out yet. Or it's still in early access. Wait. No, it is out. Wait, is it? Fire Force, after a few times, the characters are literally like, how does that keep happening to you? Yeah! Like, even the characters recognize how ridiculous it is, but at the same time, I'm like, stop doing it. That shit's fire. It's so cute. Early access. Yeah. I have been wanting to play it, though. It's on my wish list. Bubba question, when do you think Lynn will head pat me? Have you earned the head pat smiles? I don't know. That's up to her. It's early right now. Got you. Even the characters are extremely confused. Dude, what is his name? Benimaru from Fire Force, though? Goated. I love him. He's so cool. Yep. I booped you. I mean, when the anime Fire Force isn't just about arson, it's kind of scary to think about you just combusting like that. I wonder if I think they did give some of the lore for it, but maybe I'll rewatch. I don't know. Was season 2 any good? I don't know. I'm gonna call it a night, but hope you'll have a good night and safe week. Thanks for stopping in, Killjoy. I hope you have an awesome rest of your night. I lurk. I must farm domain from music key mats. Good luck with the music key mats. Boop, then head pass, then kiss is the Hey, yo. Hey, I'm flirting in my chat. We were talking about that earlier. Akko and Diana are your baby. Yes. Maybe I'll rewatch Little Witch Academia instead of watching the millions of other anime everyone recommends. So you think you earned the second step? The tea? I'm here for this. Ooh. And ooh. When they start to learn the truth. Yeah. That's what I want to know more of, is the lore. And maybe I'll try it again. Me and Lynn typically kiss. I see. Okay. Not gonna question it. Benimaru is the absolute GOAT. If someone doesn't agree, they're wrong. Yeah, I love badass characters. Like, honestly, I know a lot of people love the journey of the main character becoming stronger gradually over time. I just like the badass character that no one can kill, okay? The Levi's, the Benimarus, the freaking, what's his name? Gildards, like all of those I think are... Why did you put me in the jar? What the freak? But I just really like the badass. Itachi, yeah. Just got another week of bopping. Jar time! No, why? I said I was staying out of the drama. I just wanted to see the tea. When characters are good at what they do, I like them a lot. Exactly, yeah. Killua I loved as well from Hunter x Hunter. Killua was great, actually. I got jarred twice in one stream.
Scatter.
Crazy. That's crazy. It's the competence for me. Oh god, it's the competence. Get you a man that's competent. Get you a man that you can rely on. I don't know what boppin means other than like, no, boop. Like boop, huh? Pervy sensei. What? Oh, Kakashi. I have a friend who is extremely obsessed with Kakashi. Like, I mean, I guess her Kakashi is like my Ricely, so I get it. But it's just really funny. It's easy to get her gifts, though. Like, sometimes I have friends that don't, like, outwardly talk about their interests much. So when I'm, like, it's birthday time or something, I'm like, what the frick do I get you? What do I get my dad for his birthday? Like, what does one get a dad for their birthday? Other than, like, a tool belt, a wrench. Like, what? I don't know. It's so hard to shop for my dad. Netflix has 4 seasons of Haikyuu, but not the English dub. That is unfortunate. I know boop, but Miles got excited at bopping. I'm blinking, but alright. Kakashi is not pervy. He's a little bit. No, he's a little bit. Jiraiya sensei. Oh, I actually know who that is. Despite me not having watched Naruto, because my friend loves it so much, I kind of know. My mom got me cookies with overhaul and Levi drawn. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. The Levi cookie. You like overhaul? Interesting. What's your favorite character from My Hero Academia? I was a Todoroki fan. I really love Todoroki. The springtime of youth is within you. Oh. I'll also die for Koro-sensei. Koro-sensei sounds so familiar. I'm just glad that... Actually, I don't think I finished Attack on Titan. I think I got all the way to, like, the middle of the last season and then just dropped it. I think... What the frick am I blanking on his name for? Eren pissed me off, and so I just stopped watching. Jinshi. On God, Jinshi. Yes, that is a competent man. I'm gonna be lurking. Yell my name if you need to. Oh, yay. Thanks for the lurk. If it's that far from chat safe, then you were so far from popping anything. Crazy. If you haven't, please watch Assassination Classroom. Oh, yeah, that's why Koro-sensei sounded so familiar. I have watched Assassination Classroom. It's just been a while since I have. Koro-sensei is the one and only character that made me cry. Oh, honestly, as much as I like Overhaul as a character, I couldn't call him my favorite. Oh. Attack on Titan messed up. End of story. It was cool to see the mysteries unravel, though, but I never finished it. He's a perfect mix of cunning, boydom, and bratty. Wait, sorry. You said Jinshi. Jinshi from... No, not Jinshi. It's the other guy. It's his retainer that I really like. The frick was his name? Sorry, Jinshi, step aside. Link can have Jinshi. I don't want Jinshi. I like his retainer. His retainer with the deep ass voice. Yeah, Gaoshin. Yeah, Gaoshin. Yeah, I really love Gaoshin. Like, pretty boys are one thing, but sorry. Yeah, the father figure. Sorry, I like the men. I like the men, you know? Yeah, for like 5 years, I've seen Assassination Classroom before exams. Is it really? That's a fun little habit. That was me with Haikyuu, though, so I get it. Yeah, Gaoshin is amazing. What can I say? I see the appeal of Jinchi, of course, but he is the pretty boy, you know? So, that's all I'm saying. That's fair. Gaoshin is the man we all want at the end of the day. Yes, yes. Also, I'm realizing the time. I really gotta go to the bathroom. So I would love for you guys to keep yapping in chat. Please let me know who your favorite characters are in your favorite anime. And I will be right back. I just really gotta go to the bathroom, okay? Don't cause any mayhem, alright? No more wee-wee-wees. I see your guys' wee-wee-wees. Wee-wee-wee. Hello, I return. I'ma say it. Koro-sensei and Mr. Karasuma? Joseph Joestar. She just dare us. Karasuma. Vice Captain Shoshiro Hoshina and his compression shirt could get whatever the fuck he Is that from Kaichu number 8? Is that the guy with the bowl cut that I was also very interested in? Or is it someone else entirely? Karasuma? You guys said Karasuma and I instantly Karasuno from Haikyuu. I'm very Haikyuu minded. I gotta rewatch some of the old anime. Angel Beats especially. All the wee wee wees. I keep saying it. Angel Beats. I fear I'm a fetus among seniors. What's Angel Beats? You know what? It's a good thing you never saw it. Let's just say that. You're good. You know? It's a Jinwoo after his second glow up. Jinwoo. See, guys must remind me because I'm very bad with names, but that sounds so familiar. Jinwoo. From where? Is it just me or nowadays the way anime is seen has really shifted in the past couple of years? Like, people are more accepting of it. It's become more mainstream, right? Anime back then, you used to get made fun of. That's the reason I hid under my brother's bed when I watched my anime. I used to get made fun of for it. Angel Bead, Clan 9, and Fruits Basket. Fruits Basket also had a remake, though. So, Karasuma from Assassination Classroom. Is that the red-haired dude? Jinwoo is solo leveling. Ah! Yeah, I need to watch that soon. I watched an episode with a friend. I think it was like in season 2 or whatever. And he was so badass. And I was like, damn, who is that? I need to watch this anime now. Hi, Raru. I hope you're cozy. Rasuma is the black hair teacher. Ah! Damn! This guy. I forgot about him. I always thought his hairline was too low, though. I'm not gonna lie. His hairline bothered me. Why is his hairline so low, though? Con of small towns is you still get made fun of if you talk about anime. I've always wondered what it's like to grow up in a small town. Like, sometimes it seems like it'd be fun because you know everyone, but at the same time, it feels like it would be stifling. Drink some water. Everyone make sure to drink some water and stretch. True, but also anime fans have changed. Also nowadays, all people care about is crazy animation or fight scenes compared to wanting a good story. I don't think that's all that people want. I think that's very mainstream anime watchers want. And people like us who enjoy anime, you know. But the mainstream ones for sure. I get that. It's interesting to grow up in a small town. Interesting in a good or a bad way, or both. I just think it's nice to have that community around you. Because I'm someone that grew up moving every year, basically every other year, so I've always kind of craved that kind of community. I would love to move into a small town in like England or something, a little village, and go to the book meetings and like book clubs and stuff like that. I think that would be fun. Yeah. I grew up in a town of 600, now it's about 340. Damn, that's small. Oh my god. You want to hear all about it? Grew up in a 15,000 person town, currently live in a 4,000. Damn, you guys live in small towns. Oh my god. I didn't even know how many people are in my town, but it's in the hundreds of thousands. That's crazy. To be honest, I miss when anime wasn't mainstream. A little bit. I do like that it's more mainstream because it means that anime is getting more funding, which means we get more shows. But on the same side, you get more people that kind of ruin it for you because of their annoying discourse, and sometimes fans can ruin things. So I try not to get involved with the fans sometimes because they can get a little weird, you know? You have zero privacy. Everyone knows your crap. I can't go grocery shopping without having a family reunion. Is that really bad then? Or I live in a city, so I'm better. Got you. I think my town's about 1,000. Maybe your town had less people in it than my freaking high school. That's insane. What? My high school had 4,000 people in it. Your city had 1.8 million. Yeah. Right. When I joined the Air Force, I left for bigger cities. Me having almost 100k people in my town. Yeah. But I'm happy to see more of an LGBTQ presence nowadays. That's good. I prefer having better access to anime, and nowadays accessibility is so much better. The streaming service will drop your favorite anime on the drop of a hat. That's what, it's so annoying. Yeah, I mean, my best friend thankfully is super sweet, and she lets me use her Crunchyroll, so I use that a lot. But you know, before that, I'm just saying, you find ways to watch the anime you want to watch. That's all I'm gonna say. Yup. You would think it's a good thing, but due to the animation demand, animes are shorter. That's true, but they're also firing a lot of artists too, weirdly. It's annoying. Even in solo leveling, they're skipping so much story. Isn't anime usually do that though? Maybe not actually, I don't know. My high school has like 200. A big class here is a class of 30. That's crazy. My high school had like 4,000 students in it. Crazy. There was like 1,000 students per grade, basically, give or take. I'm rounding up. Before that, you sail the 7 seas for anime. Yeah. Yep. I skipped all the way to Jeju. No spoilers! I don't know what that means, but no spoilers! I'm gonna watch it soon. Ish. I don't know, man. Also entirely unrelated, I had asparagus. I had asparagus, rice, and chicken before stream. You know, when you go to the bathroom and you eat asparagus, let's just say it's an experience. But I love asparagus, that's fine. My high school was 103. In the entire high school? Oh my god. Girl, I'm just saying. It's good for you. It's healthy for you. I'm just saying. Ugh, I got an itchy eye. Ugh. Ugh, my eyeball itchy. Why are you talking about asparagus? Why you gotta say it like that? Not the asparagus. Whoa. Why you gotta say it like that? I hinted at it. I wasn't talking about it. The entire high school. That's tiny. Oh my god. My eyeballs so itchy. Ugh. Okay. Woo! You live in a Mennonite refugee town. Small town. Do you guys like living in small towns then? For those of you that do, or do you wish you lived in a bigger town? Like, what are the pros and cons to it? Because I feel like the grass is always greener, but I've just been curious about it. I don't think I'd fit in regardless. I don't even fit in a big town. My town is small to the point that people with four-wheelers make it a game to see who can plow the roads before the actual snow plows can. That's kind of cute though, no? Having that community or nah? I mean, I guess if there's someone that you hate, kind of sucks though. I'm either related to them or don't know what country they're from. Oh. When you have a minute later, if you remember, look up Nebraska. I grew up in the southwest corner. I don't have to look up Nebraska. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've driven through 49 out of the 50 states in the US. I've been to them all, except for Alaska. I have gone cross country many times in my trusty old car. I'm a little bit of a traveler. Yeah, so I know Nebraska. I got pulled over twice in that freaking state. Man, and nothing better to do than pull me over and speed trap me. I don't like living in a small town, but I have to for my job. I miss the anonymity of a city. Cities can be lonely though too. There's so many people around and yet you're alone, I guess. I don't know. I like a little town because I'm a hermit, so no one knows me. Hey, fair enough. That would be me too, though. I'm gonna be honest. Even if I moved to a small town, when I lived in a very small town for my uni. I had no friends there. It was just me and my dog, and I would go hiking like every weekend, just me, myself, and I still vibed. Go to Alaska. It's the freaking most beautiful. Funny you say that. I'm trying to plan a trip there with my mom and my sister, so I do plan to go there one day. I would love to. State police in Nebraska. Dude, it was a speed trap. He was literally sitting behind the speed limit sign, and it was the speed limit was changing from the freeway to a town, right? So obviously I'm slowing down because I see the sign and I see that we're going into a town, so I'm slowing down. And he pulls me over and he's like, "Ma'am, you're going 10 miles over the speed limit." And I was like, "I know. I mean, like, I was slowing down." He's like, "Well, you're still going over the speed limit." And I was like, this motherfucker, this guy. I was so annoyed. And he was like, "Well, if you want to dispute it, you can come back to the courthouse." And I'm like, "Yes, I'm gonna come back to the courthouse in this tiny little Nebraskan town on a random April Tuesday afternoon. Yeah, I can definitely do that." So it's very annoying. I just hate living my life according to a small town schedule because everything closes at 6 p.m. The city, you can do what you want when you want. That's true. That is true. You have a lot more to do in a city. Yeah. The socio-political climate of small towns is not super friendly to all of us. Yeah, I think realistically, if I was to move to a small town, I would probably not fit in. I already don't fit in usually, so your town was really bad with outsiders. It was a celebration when the town over got their first Starbucks, not because Starbucks is good, but because they finally got the point where they could support one. Wow. I mean, I'm a local business type of person though. Back with snacks. Welcome back, Hamudi. What snacks did you get? My town barely has a hotel. Biggest business we have is Chicken Chef. What is that? Main question is your small town a place where people with more melanin would feel safe? That's the question. That is the question, because I am Middle Eastern. So yeah. Local businesses are bomb. Yeah, I talked about this earlier. Actually, did I? I've been getting my tuna melts from this little local restaurant. The tuna melts are absolutely massive. I'm saying, like, I actually have to, like, focus on eating because it's such a big sandwich. And it's so freaking good. And I don't care that I have to pay 20 bucks for it. It is worth it. It's so freaking good. And I've been obsessed with it. And it's just from this tiny little local restaurant. I love it. Makes me very happy. So, yes, support local businesses if you can. Because honestly, they're amazing. Living in a small community was tough when I was a kid. Couldn't get away with anything without my parents knowing back then. Yeah, I mean, again, I lived a very, not nomadic lifestyle, but we definitely moved around a lot. Even though I grew up on a farm, like, later on, when I hit, like, my preteen high school days, I moved a lot, so. Even before then, actually. Yeah. Back in the 80s, no. Today it's better because they're trying to keep the town from dying out. Not to brag, but our bakery is known throughout multiple other towns. That's so cute. Aw, love that. Statistically, small towns in Canada are majority white. Very little exposure to other cultures, religions. It's very much bubble living, so it can be aggravating. Almost feels like time traveling sometimes. Not all small towns, of course, just a tendency. That's the cons that I've seen a lot about small towns, and I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's just fascinating to see the small town culture. Nothing like economic slowdown to inspire actual racial justice, I guess. No, it's crazy. Aww. Cherry tomatoes with salt, cumin, pepper powder, and cream. Wait, so many. Okay, I like to slice tomatoes and eat it with cumin and salt. You're one of the first people I know that snacks on actual tomatoes, because so many people I know either hate tomatoes or just don't think to snack on them. So kudos to you, Hamudi. I wonder if that's a Middle Eastern thing, actually. I live in a mid-sized town now, and even here it's really hard to find queer community. I really want to move somewhere it's easier to find people like me. I guess that's the benefit of a big city, is you do have more inclusivity. So that is the benefit. So when you're someone like me who is a hermit and doesn't get out regardless, for me it's like, I want more of a community. I want more of a reason to go out. Because for me, I'm overwhelmed with how much there is to do and how many people there are in a big town. So I was just really curious about it. Because I do really miss my old university town where I could go on walks with my dogs to the forest and go to like the swamp and go to the other forest. I was outside a lot. I mean, if you guys couldn't pick up, I'm an outdoorsy person, so. On the positive side, you get a sense of community. It's something you tend to miss when you're in the bigger area. Yeah. Tomatoes are tasty. That's what I'm saying. You just go online. Yep. Maybe that's the stickler small town will give you a sense of community, but only if you fit in. Yeah. That's what I'm learning. I live in a pretty big town, but because a lot of people here are conservative and rich, it's been a struggle getting queer events down here. We finally had our first Pride last year, but the city council won't let us run it as a city event again, so we have to hold it at the local community college as a separate thing. Damn. I mean, the area you live in, Jay, yeah, that makes sense, but it's still very frustrating. The town right next to mine is even smaller, but it's also basically as interesting. Huh. Works are starting to grow, which is lovely. Aww. That's good to hear. It's really good to hear. I've always had difficulties in general finding a community I fit in with, because I always felt like I wasn't quite enough to fit into any kind of community, right? Because I'm mixed race, right? I'm Palestinian, but also Egyptian. So I wasn't full Palestinian enough for my family, but I wasn't Egyptian enough for my other side. And then in terms of like queer community, I don't know. I don't even know what I am. So I was like, I don't know if I fit in here. And in terms of like, you know, autistic, right? But then I don't know. So I never felt like I fit in anywhere. Even in high school, I'm too athletic for the nerds, but too nerdy for the athletes. I was like, damn it, I don't fit in anywhere, man. Yeah, but I did end up finding my community online, which is I'm very grateful for, because I had a hard time, or still have a hard time in real life, even at like working as a zookeeper, right? Even then I don't feel like I fit in. There's still so much I can learn, even though I got my degree in it. So yeah, that mixed race not feeling like I'm fitting in either place yeah, it's tough out there, man. It's rough, but I do my best, and I learned about my culture a bunch, and so yeah, I'm definitely doing my best. That's so real. Even the big towns could be super snooty. Mine's a decent size, but same. There's a local religious school that completely changes the vibe. We can barely even get a bar. Wow. I love learning about all of this from you guys, though. Unlabeled is always welcome too, you know? The LGBTQ crowd is pretty chill. You say that, but I have experienced the opposite side as well, Jay. Those that aren't as friendly. But your community specifically, Jay, from the people that you've introduced me, have been very welcoming, for sure. Yeah. Fun times, it's a struggle, but I just bully my city council every chance I get, yeah. Then come with me and I'll punch people for you. I want to. I think maybe one day when I move out, yeah, for sure. Are you possibly doing your very best? I'm just doing my very best. Yes, I am. That was what's so crazy about my town. 2 churches, 2 bars. I'm like, I mean, hey, they're covering all their bases, right? They gotta cover all their bases. You know where I haven't been that I've recently been really wanting to go? I've been wanting to go to New Orleans. Way down in New Orleans. I want to go to New Orleans really badly. I didn't get to go there. Last time I just drove through Louisiana. So I would love to. I shit you not, the financial ego in this town is crazy. Majority work at my workplace, and my coworker gets an email where they send, where the sender said maybe someone on a lower pay grade could do this. Who does that? What? That's crazy. My boss sometimes works with me. She'll clean the owl shit right next to me, shoulder to shoulder. Like, that is actually crazy. I'm very blessed to have a really lovely workplace, but that's insane. I've also had people being jerks to me about my gender identity, even in the queer community. Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it's like, shouldn't we all be in this together? Hello? But people are people. Yeah. Thankfully, I've never faced the race-related struggles as a white person with almost purely European ancestry, but I'm also queer, overweight, a girl, not conventionally attractive, not athletic. Yeah, we have our own struggles for sure, but again, like, we're blessed to be able to find our little community. And I hope I can be that little space. What? The music get all emotional. I hope I can be that space for a lot of us to feel like a community together, right? I love New Orleans. I wanna go. I just reached a point I don't give a shit anymore. That's what happens when you get older, I've learned. You just kind of don't care anymore. We care so much when we're teenagers, and then you get older and you're like, I don't care anymore. Man, who the frick cares what Derek thinks? Sorry to anyone named Derek. I just pulled that name out on them. I'm in STEM. It's a lot of PhD. I have learned, because I was a STEM major as well. God, people in STEM related, oh my god, they are arrogant. Oh my god, they can be so arrogant. I have definitely learned that. I always felt like the dumb one in my class, even though, like, where I came from, I was considered the smartest. And then you go into, like, university, you go into a STEM related field, and I just felt like the dumbest one around. Granted, I have, like, a different way of learning, but my god. My old place I used to live in reunited with how much we hated the local council. They would never fix the potholes in the road until one dude went, fine, I'll do it myself. He got a load of fines once! That's so annoying. Why get fined if you're just gonna... Like, what? Man, politics are crazy, right? Mostly the older ones, the response is usually we're waiting for them to retire. That's crazy. Wow. All them boxes plus autistic, so thank God I'm accidentally funny. I love you guys. Trust me. I've always been the type of person who never felt like she fit in. So I wanted to make this place a place where everyone can fit in. So long as we're all inclusive to each other and we're kind to each other, yeah? Gorilla Town improving is so lit. Gorilla community service will always be goated. It is funny. I love those towns that have community gardens. Oh my god. I remember when I was younger, I did a whole project about like a community gardens thing that I wanted to set up. I didn't end up getting it set up, but community gardens make me happy. I think more towns should implement them, honestly. Bubba's bubble of inclusivity. Inclusivity. Yes. Yes, yes.
Jingle, jingle, pay attention. Pay attention. I said your favorite word.
Hi, Sky. Oh my god, I shut up so fast. Are you gonna try getting Shorekeeper? I honestly have no idea. Probably not, because I want Zani and maybe what's her name? Shota? What's her name? Thank you for the hydrate. Hi, Sky. How you doing? You know, we were talking about solo leveling earlier. I'm supposed to finish watching it with you. Or not finish, start watching it with you. I don't even have a diagnosis for anything other than obvious OCD. My mom suggested I may have autism, but it's high functioning, so I could never get funding for a diagnosis. Yeah, but even high functioning autism affects your life, and I think that's what people don't realize. Like, yes, you can still function with autism, but it's a disability for a reason. I mean, as someone who has it. And it's important to learn about yourself. Self-diagnosis is real. And the more you learn, hopefully the more it can help you out. I'm always trying to learn about myself. As a director of my company, I cannot tolerate bullies or elitists. I have to keep myself from firing people weekly. Just do it. Somebody once went and put a bunch of curse stickers all over my signs and my talents. I went in the middle of the night with a scraper and a bottle of alcohol and took them all down. Oh my goodness. What the heck? I didn't know. Sorry you had to deal with that. Ciacciona. I forgot her. It's Italian, so isn't double C the ch sound? Ciacciona? I'm probably wrong. Normally I wouldn't care, but they were really cursed. Ugh, how annoying. Solo leveling is goated indeed. I try to be a coach more than a manager. I try. Sometimes people sure do test your patience though, right? I hate when people hear low support needs and equate it to no support needed. Fuck all the way off. I haven't showered in 3 days. Yeah, I struggle with it too because like obviously I have disability, right? But also I grew up in a household where, you know, we were taught to be strong and to be independent and to work through whatever it is. You know, you can get through stuff with hard work, but you can't get through a disability even with hard work. And so it was really much a struggle for my family to wrap around their heads that I can't do this no matter how hard I try because my body can't keep up. And they're like, yeah, but like if you just do this, you can, it'll work itself out. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way, no. But they're getting there slowly but surely the more I educate them. Apparently English dub is Kyakona. Okay, so I was probably wrong then. Double C is the like sound, like the, oh my god, that sounded weird, but like the K sound. I hate the idea of self-diagnosing, and I can't get firm answers from my family because once again, high functioning. So yeah, but until you can get a diagnosis, it's okay to self-diagnose. It is. If you really feel like you're fitting all of the symptoms, I should say, of like autism, that's all right. Especially if it's just gonna help you figure out more about yourself. I was really mad in general last semester, so I just went out at night to take them down when they popped up again. The blow-ups thing. I see. I have a very high level of patience from having the best leaders in the Air Force. That makes sense. Self-diagnosis is 100% valid when diagnosis is financially gatekept. Exactly. Yeah. Like, honestly, self-diagnosis is always valid. As long as you're not faking it, of course, so that you don't invalidate others' experiences. It's totally valid. I stay self-diagnosed because some countries won't let you emigrate with an autism. Yeah, I struggle with that. I got diagnosed without asking for it. But we can't find the records anywhere. So, because my mom explicitly remembers me getting diagnosed when I was 13, but we can't find the records. So hopefully that means if I ever did try to move, they won't have that. We're praying. Although my other disability probably ruins it for me regardless. I know places like Australia won't let you in if you have like any medical disability. So, kind of screwed no matter what. I don't want to open myself up to discrimination with an official diagnosis. Yeah. Well, because other countries don't. Yeah. Also have a service dog. So regardless, it's a struggle for me. I will say this, low support needs is only low support until it's not anymore. As in, there will come a breaking point when there is no support and your needs can no longer be met. This is so true. Yeah. This is very, very true. I research everything at least once a month so I know I'm not being crazy. It's good. It's very good to self-reflect as well, which I did a lot of over this week as well. Just having my week off. It was very helpful for my mental. But also it really helped me get to know myself again, you know? And not self-diagnose, what? Self-reflect. What? Really, why? Because, you mean for like immigrating into countries with a disability, they don't want to have to be responsible for your healthcare. A lot of places provide free healthcare or free not disability insurance, what do you call it? Disability pay. And so if you emigrate into a country and you're disabled and you're able to get your citizenship, that means they would have to like provide for you. So that's why. Ultimately, you know yourself best, and if you notice a consistent and prolonged pattern that matches with a diagnosis, it's a pretty safe bet you have that thing. Yeah, because how many doctors are gonna be like, it's just anxiety. You just need to lose weight. Oh, it's just anxiety. It's just your time of month. It's like, ooh, doctors piss me off sometimes. I diagnosed myself with depression, anxiety, and ADHD before I got them professionally diagnosed. The only thing I got wrong was my anxiety was causing depression, not the other way around. Taking time away to get back in touch with yourself. It's important. Greedy asthma, I mean, that's just how governments work, yeah. Officially diagnosed with depression and anxiety on medication. The amount of doctors that told me, you just have extremely high anxiety, only to finally find a doctor, a specialist, that was like, yeah, you've got epilepsy. Because all the other doctors was like, yeah, you're passing out and like trembling because you're anxious. Turns out I was having seizures, y'all. Man, but it's good to have an advocate for you because my mother was the one that really helped me out. Because I was shut down a lot when I didn't know how to describe what I was feeling or what was happening. And so my mother would help me out a lot. So having that support group around you is also really important. So if you're able to find someone or a group of people that can be your safe space, it is very important. How goes the chatting? Welcome back, Fancy. We're actually yapping about And just our disabilities in general. And how we handle it. Have you tried losing weight, ma'am? I'm missing a chemical in my brain and I can hear sounds when I'm alone in her room. Yes, yes, yes. I swear to God, if I go to my doctor's appointment in May and they try to pull that anxiety or weight shit, I'll throw hands. It's so annoying, yeah. Have you tried losing weight? Do you know how many times I've been called fat? Yes, I've tried. Leave me alone. Yeah, it's just annoying that they'll see that and just attribute it to that. And by the way, guys, like, I'm athletic. I'm not overweight. I'm the opposite, and I still get that. So I think that's just their shitty excuse to be like, yeah, and just, yeah, I don't want to do the work or whatever it is, and it's just annoying. They'll do that regardless, and it's just frustrating for sure. So having someone by your side to advocate for you is also really helpful. I found out also it works better when it's a man, unfortunately. Just having my dad there sometimes when I'm trying to call the pharmacy, when I'm trying to do whatever. My dad will be like, just call them. I'm like, I've tried. And he's like, okay, we'll call them again. And I'm like, okay, I'll try. And then it doesn't work out. And then he'll call them and everything sorts out. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, you just did it wrong. I'm like, no, it's because you're a man. It's because you're a man and they're listening to you. Yeah. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, but it is what it is. Oh. Thank you for the throwberries. Welcome back, Brando. I feel so bad for getting gifted sub to random streamers I opened for 3 minutes. That's okay. It's free. Whatever. They're getting supported. Welcome back, Blank. Have you thought about losing weight? No, it's never occurred to me. Didn't you know? Going through high school, 250 pounds is just character building. Yeah. Problem with medical communities is that there are trends in healthcare, and they all seem to jump straight to the worst. Just, yeah. And once you do find a good doctor, stay with them, guys. Stay with them. It's hard to find. My mom does that for me. She has no chill. Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm like, I know I'm a grown woman, but sometimes you just need your mother there to help you. And the depression makes me just want to give up. It's so difficult. You'll get through it. Trust me. And you have people around you that care for you and support you no matter what. So you will get through it. Okay? I hope you know that. I'm in my 30s now and only have a doc willing to find out what's going on. PCOS and insulin resistant. Yeah. I have also discovered that about myself. Yummy. But you'll get through it at the end of the day. And you do have a community and you have people around you that love you. Even if you don't think that you do, you definitely do. And you will get through it. As hard as it seems right now, you'll get through it. So we can be thankful for that. Yeah, I mean, the good thing, I think one of my strongest traits that I know about myself is I can adapt really well. Part of that is just the way I grew up. You know, when you grow up moving around so much, you adapt to things. You adapt to new situations and scenarios. So I think I'm very talented in that regard. That's one of my strengths. I'm very good at adapting to things. So I'm blessed in that regard. You guys are so sweet. I'm actually crying. Oh, healthy cries, okay? Healthy cries, but we want smiles here for sure. Taking things a day at a time is what you gotta do. Yeah. Celebrate the little things. Exactly. I mean, I'm literally crying. I need to close my bedroom door. Oh, I'm so sorry. Give you a little hug, okay? Wait, I actually can. Hold on. I think this is it. Watch this. Hug. Little wins, I forgot. Y'all, I became a published author. What? That's so cute. Ah, congratulations, Lynn. That's amazing. Let's go. We can do hugs. You can. You just gotta do exclamation point hug and then at whoever. There's a lot of secret commands in the channel you guys have to discover on your own. But that's amazing, Lynn. I'm so proud of you. I think you told me. I don't know if you told me that about being published, but I remember you talking about your journey. At least tears help your eyelashes grow. Is that true? Is that true? Wow. I think that's one of the things I was always complimented the most. Physically. Like, what are the 2 things you get complimented the most about yourself? It's always like, wow, I love your eyelashes. Wow. I won't say the other thing, but my eyelashes for sure. I wrote a procedure document at work and finally got approval. Yeah, I remember you talking to me about that. Congratulations. That's awesome. So now you start in the revision. Oh, we love revision. I remember going through that with my thesis. Oh my god, and having to fight for my thesis. Ugh. But congratulations. Maybe that's why I like those sad anime. Crying makes me feel so light and relaxed. No, crying gives me a headache. And then I think about it for the next like 3 days. Yeah. Eyelashes, hair, and my tits. Aww. Hey, eyelashes and hair is still good though, yeah? I get complimented on my hair a lot now that I've learned how to take care of it. The crying headaches are so real. Right in your brow crinkle. It's always like my temples. Yeah. Do you ever like have a good cry though and then you see yourself in the mirror and you're like, damn, I kind of look good though. Like something about crying makes you look more attractive. I don't know why. I'm like, huh. My nose kind of pink. My eyes kind of puffy. I don't know why. You're crying, but you gotta strike a pose in the mirror. Like, damn, why are you crying, baby? I look kind of good like this. Man. Yeah. For the longest time, I never cried. I've slowly started to allow myself to, but yeah, I grew up having to be really strong, and now I'm like kind of allowing myself more. When I cry, I look like the puffiest fish you ever did. But the cutest puffiest fish. I always saw characters smooth out their partner's furrowed brows in animes, and I don't know why that's so attractive. It's like the smallest way to show caring. Like, hey, smooth those out. You gotta get it. They smooth it out, and then they press a little kiss. It's so cute. It's so cute. What is it? My turn. One time a guy was following me and a friend around, and I was saying that I hated not knowing where he's looking. She didn't hesitate before saying, girl, we all know he's... What a creep. Anyways, I gotta practice piano. Good luck with the practice. Yeah, when those little... What is something very little that someone can do that you find, like, really attractive? Like... rolling up their sleeves? Such a small thing, but yeah. rolling up their sleeves. Rolling up their sleeves, and if they have glasses, pushing their glasses up their nose. Both of those. Yes, for me. It's a big yes for me. Oh, there's dishes. Do the dishes for me. I'll love you forever. So true. I hate doing the dishes. That's so true. Actually, when they do things for you without you having to ask as well. Like, you come home and it's like, yeah, I took out the trash. You're like, I love you forever. You took out the trash without me having to ask? I love you. I got so spoiled. I think my dad has raised my expectations for a partner in general because he does all that on his own, right? He's amazing. And so I'm like, how am I ever gonna find someone I want to be with when they have to compete with that? Play with my hair, like twirl that shit. Dude, if anyone touches my hair, it's over. I love it. Did you watch Bridgerton? I did. I never understood the spoon scene until my current partner. His mouth is so hot. Damn. Damn. All my tears get used up by the daily big ass yawn. No, don't yawn. The flies will fly in. Oh, wow. What are you saying wow about, Renz? But yeah, the small thing. I think it's really the little things. The little things. Or like, especially if you're in heels or something, and they offer to hold your heels for you and give you their shoes or something, or they put their jacket around you. Yeah. Hear me out. The lip swipe, super cringe, but also kind of... If someone did that to me, I don't know if I feel like I would cringe. But like when it's done in shows, I'm like, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I would like it if it's done with me though. I often cook and clean and do chores for my partner, so no wonder her eyes light up when she wakes up and everything's done. Yeah, Renz! Yeah! Because it doesn't happen, like, it's not common, unfortunately. So, yeah, no wonder she loves you. I don't wear heels anymore. It's also like tying your shoelaces, though, too. Hi, bud! Good morning. I do also like me a good chin grab. Hey, yo, Lynn. Putting their head on mine during a hug is so nice. Oh, I feel like I'd accidentally headbutt them. I have started getting used to hugs. Started to. I think hugs are nice with the right person. I used to be very touch averse. I'm trying to get over it, but hugs can be nice with the right person. I thought it's a given. It is not a given. It is not, Renz. It's definitely not. Hear me out. Wall slam if done right. Lynn! Okay! She liked the cabedon. You want a kiss? You want a kiss, mister? Oh, my doggy wants so many hugs right now. You want a kiss? You want cuddles? Tickle boy. You want to say hi to Steve? Tickle boy. Yeah. Tickle boy. The wall slam. The thing is, like, these are things that are really good in anime and shows. But again, I feel like if it was done to me, I'd probably be cringing. But maybe it depends on the guy. Maybe it depends on the guy. Because, I hate to say it, my previous exes weren't, like, the most manly to me. And I don't mean in a physical sense. I mean, like, mentality. So I think if they acted more like a man, no offense, I think it would hit me more. Yeah. I don't like decision making. I do tend to appreciate when it's done for me. Yeah, if they plan out the date for you instead of you having to plan it out. Very nice. To be fair, you don't have to force yourself into personal touch if you don't prefer it. The right people will respect your boundaries. Yeah, yeah. Give Link a hug. He's getting butt pats right now. I'm sitting here yapping with you guys and giving him butt pats. With wrists held above your head. Damn! Too much. Muscle women. I said small things that are attractive, guys. I don't think those are small. I meant little things, like day-to-day things that someone can do that you find attractive. I meant the wall slam for decision making. Assertiveness is hot to me. Yeah, I agree. Actually, I agree a lot with that one. Yeah. I don't mind being the decision maker, but I do like it when they can be assertive and like make the decision and just I want to feel like a princess. Yeah, forehead kisses. Yeah, forehead kisses are so cute. I was saying, like, you know, when you smooth out, Lynn was saying when they smooth out your brow when you're like angry or something, they smooth out the wrinkle and then they place a little kiss on it, and I think that's so cute. I think that's adorable. What else? It's just the little things, man. Like for me, yeah. If they went out of their way to clean something on their own, physical things, rolling up the sleeves, yeah. I don't know. I appreciate when I'm heard, when I have an opinion, but if I've made it clear I'm indifferent or open to options, just do it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, just having them listen to you. Honestly, having them listen and then ask questions that show that they heard what you said. You know, not that it's not just like the in one ear out the other. It's like, oh, so you like Genshin? Well, like, who's your favorite character or whatever? Like, they actually hear what you're talking about, right? I don't know why I've used Genshin as my reference, but yeah, right? Active listening. Yeah. Because so many of my relationships, I was basically the therapist girlfriend, right? Oh my god, Link, calm down. He's wrestling in the back. But, like, I never really got to be heard. So the whole time they were doing the yapping, and the second I started talking, it was like, yeah. So anyways, and then there was this, and I'm like, did you even hear a word that you said? That I said? One of my exes, I did not get a birthday gift for 4 years. That should have been a red flag. I was just like, oh, because he was the type that was like, yeah, I don't celebrate birthdays. So I just kind of excused it. And I was like, yeah, he doesn't celebrate birthdays, but I always got him a gift and did like these over the top things. So yeah, girl, after year 2. No, I know. I was naive. Yeah. Even if they don't know 100% about it, they ask questions to learn. Exactly. Yeah. When they ask me specifically about something I talked to them about, and not just like the bullet points of my character. Yeah. I struggle to actively listen. My brain struggles to latch onto any information. I feel like I have NPC dialogue log. No, that's all right. It's okay if you don't remember everything, but just showing that you heard them and maybe remembering one or two things, I think is really important for a good relationship. Yeah. That's just using you. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason he's my ex, yeah? I'm poly, and when my partner takes care of his other partner, like the other night, she said she was craving mozzarella sticks, and he secretly DoorDashed her. That's so cute! Aww. Yeah, I love that. Me and my friends do this thing where if one of them is sick or they're having a rough time, we'll DoorDash each other stuff. Like, my best friend was going through a lot, so I DoorDashed her favorite meal because we have a group chat together, and I purposely asked them, like, okay guys, what are your comfort foods? Like, when you're having a tough time, what do you like to get? And everyone listed their favorite things, and I pinned everything, in the group chat. So now anytime anyone's having a tough time, we can DoorDash each other our favorite foods, so that we don't like DoorDash something they don't like, right? So yeah, we do that a lot. And I think it's just like a very healthy way to show that you care. If you can't physically be there, then at least you can do something like that, right? I'm not really picky. The only character trait I'd like is the ability to sacrifice. At least I'm willing to sacrifice and compromise. Compromise is very important in a relationship. Yeah. So it's give and take, exactly. Stop, I love that. It's a good idea. If you guys haven't done that with your friends or your partners even, it's a good idea. Get a little list of things that they like, you know, especially comfort foods, because I don't know about you guys, but food is basically a love language to me. So if I'm having a tough time and someone was like, hey, I DoorDashed you your favorite food, I would cry. Because, you know, sometimes all you need is just a warm meal and a hug. This whole chat is just a way of saying not to settle for less. Exactly. Physical care is a big deal. That's so thoughtful and sweet. Yeah. I would say my sister's even better at it than me. My sister's love language is very much giving gifts, where mine is very much acts of service. But we learned over time like how to deal with that with each other, because me and my sister used to struggle with that. But yeah. And you deserve the best. We all deserve the best. But it's also important to be self-aware and learn that what we can work on with ourselves. So I've tried to be a lot better with showing my friends that I care, because not everyone's love language is acts of service. So you have to try to meet them in the middle, like compromise. And this is just for friends. It's also important with your partner. Partners also love massages, so I'm slowly learning. Ah, yeah, head massages for me. Do not ever touch my legs or feet. No, but head massages would melt, would die. Yes. Understanding will never be 50-50. Some days it will be 60-40, other days 30-70, some days will be 40-40, and we'll just do what we can do each other and try again. Exactly. Just adapting and compromising. Even though I struggle to listen, I like to feel heard / seen. Actually, Bubba, speaking of small things, I actually really appreciate when you call out someone who is trying to speak but maybe got overtalked. It's such a nice way of acknowledging. Yeah, because sometimes I join the VCs in Discord, and a lot of people like to join, you know, and it can get very chaotic and everyone's talking. So I do my best. If someone is talking and they get like talked over, I'll be like, yeah, so-and-so, what were you saying? Because I myself hate being ignored, so I can only imagine what other people are feeling, right? So yeah. I'm a very observant person, so I do my best. It pays to pay attention. It doesn't always, but that doesn't matter, because I just don't want other people to feel what I've felt. So if I can prevent one less person from feeling that way, then I've done my job, right? If I can give a smile to one more person, then I've done something in my life. Yeah. I love this about Bubba. One of the biggest things from first meeting her in a collab. I do my best. Gotta read the room a little too, right? That's also something I try my best to do, is read the room, because there's some groups you can like laugh and joke around a ton and make dirty jokes, and there's other groups that are a lot more chill, a lot more quiet. You gotta learn how to read the room a little. It's important. I love this song with the saxophone or whatever this is. But yeah, it's definitely what I can call it, like active learning or something. I'm very self-aware, I would say, for the most part, or I try to be anyways. So yeah. I truly do admire how much work you put into your social navigation and practice. It really is inspiring to me, and something I strive to someday. That honestly, it makes me happy that you call it work, because to other people, they'd be like, yeah, she's just naturally funny. And I'm like, girl, at work, I actively learn how to be a better speaker. I study other people. I watch other people's streams just to study how they talk, how they make things seem so natural, what kind of questions they ask their chat, how they interact, because I'm naturally socially awkward. So I try to learn. Yeah, I do try to learn. Reading the room is a skill that most people don't acknowledge. You can definitely tell when someone isn't reading the room. Hope my memory is good enough for a festival next week. You got this! You got this! You got this! I believe in you. Amazing that you can play piano. Is there any specific songs that you're practicing? That shit is work and effort. Trial and error. Trial and error for sure. Bubba do be good. We love Bubba. Yeah, welcome back, Brando. Yeah, but I think this can be said for anyone, right? And if you haven't tried it already, try to do a little self-reflection this week. The good and the bad. It's important to recognize both, you know, but don't be overly harsh on yourself. I want you to list the good and the bad that you think you can work on, and the good things that you did that you were very proud of. Because people often do self-reflection, but they're only listing the bad things, and it's important to like be proud of yourself too. Yeah. Sentimental Journey, Shariah's Song, and Cool Camel Caravan are my pieces this year. I know none of those, but I'm sure they're gonna sound amazing. You got this. I mean, I feel like my just chatting always turns into this, like, inspirational type stuff. We start out so goofy and then it turns into this, but it's fun to talk about. Can I glaze Brando for a bit? Of course! My bestie? Of course! Be proud of yourselves, motherfuckers! Hi, Strawberry Tyrant, welcome in. Welcome in. You wanna glaze my bestie? Go for it. Oh, I glaze him all the time, what can I say? What recommendations do y'all have for being more mentally, mentally acute? I felt truly overwhelmed with how dull my brain feels, so I'm trying to build my social skills and mental acuity again, but it can feel very overwhelming sometimes. You're probably gonna hate what I say, Vency. But mental health walks. Honestly, if you can't do the walks, movement in general is going to increase the the blood flow in your body. So a lot of time, mental dullness isn't just a mental thing. It's your body telling you that it needs something. A lot of times, if you don't thank you for giving us up to Fancy. If you don't move your body, you start feeling very dull. So it's important, even if you can't do a walk outside, give yourself some sort of movement even in your bedroom. Yeah. So like lift your arms above your head, roll them in a circle, lift your knees a little bit, like walk around in your room, whatever it is, give yourself some movement, because if you stay stuck in one position for too long, you're literally getting stuck in a rut. So yeah. Twitch just kicked you out? No, I'm so sorry. So sorry. That's why I like lurking here when I can. I thrive in these combos. Well, I appreciate you lurking here. I'm no doctor, but I did used to be a personal trainer. So I can help a little bit here and there. And I can tell you right now, as much as I hate them too sometimes, mental health walks are very good for you. They will clear out your brain a little and give you some space to breathe, especially when you feel overwhelmed. Yeah. The way I asked you to teach me Valorant and you were like, my friend Brando wants in too, is that okay? And I was like, oh man, okay. Do they know I'm garbage? Never met Brando in my life, but my god, he has some of the most friendly, welcoming, uplifting, excitable energy. Yeah, usually when I'm doing something in a collab for the first time, Brando is almost always there because he's very good at keeping the conversations light and not awkward. And he's very patient. Yeah, he's not gonna be like, you can't aim? Yo, shit. You know? We're just gonna laugh it off and continue. Yeah. Not to sound morbid, but when you get older, if you don't stay active, things go downhill very fast. Yep. Yeah, it's important to keep moving. I was gonna say I'm very overly emotional physically, but at times my brain is so dull, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think step number 1, make sure you're moving your body. Step number 2, for mental acuity, oftentimes I try to do stuff that isn't just on my phone, right? I do bird watching, I read a book, I do things that challenge my brain in some sort of way. Because that will also sharpen your brain. So it's a book. It could be about anything, honestly. You can do books about self-improvement. You can do a book, Aragon, you know, reading about like dragon riding, whatever it is, something that moves your brain away from the screens. Because I am very guilty of being in front of my screen a lot, and that also dulls your brain because there's so much entertainment and things out there that are thinking for you. It is really important to make sure that you give your brain a break from that. I listen to music and sing along. I do too. I also do dance breaks in the bathroom. I'll listen to my favorite songs and just be like dancing in the background. I might not be the best dancer, but I sure have fun. That's so sweet. What a great recommendation. I'll do my best. Next goal is to go on walks. Yeah. Just a little bit will go a long way. Brando literally treated me like he knew me this entire goddamn life. The acceptance I felt 10 minutes in was so startling. Brando, I hope you realize how powerful and special that is about you. Dude, the first time I met Brando in real life, we went to a mall together. And he kept opening all the doors for me. And I was like, what? I was just sitting there like mouth open, head empty, like. And then I didn't have my card was getting declined, not because I didn't have money, but because for whatever reason my card wasn't working. I was just trying to buy a bottle of juice, and Brando like steps in and he's like, "I got you," and then just buys it. And I was like, "Oi, this is the first time we met. Stop buying me juice." No, he's amazing. He's my best friend for a reason. Yeah, chivalry, exactly. Yeah. Music is the medicine of the soul. So true, so true. But I hope those tips can help you a little bit, Vency. These are just the things that I do for myself. When I feel my body is starting to lag, I feel very dull and whatever. Oftentimes, exercise is the #1 thing I go to. Get your blood flowing a little first. If that doesn't work, try the other things. And after that, I don't know. Maybe go to a doctor. That's all I can really, that's the advice I can give. I hope it helps. Yeah. I spend all my time on screens. Whoops, that's a good point. I haven't really been doing anything other than look at screens all day. I should really try getting back into reading. Yeah. I mean, why not? But then again, yeah, it's not common. It's not, Renz. It's not. It's a Filipino thing. I don't know. But it's not. Yeah, I mean, again, I also struggle with getting off my screen. So it is important to start being aware of it. As annoying as it can be, you know, all the people around you. It's some damn phones. It's fine to be on your phone. It's fine to watch your TikToks. I bed rot all the time. But it's also important to balance it out just a little. You know, 15-minute walk a day is not going to kill you. It's probably going to make you feel better, actually. And I do my walks. I'll listen to a podcast. I'll listen to music. Whatever it is. And I tend to enjoy it. Plus, my dog is going to force me out regardless. So in that sense, I am blessed. Because my dog forces me to move. He'd be like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Get up. So, yeah. I've deeply missed this. Aw, well, I'm glad you stopped by. I want to get back into drawing, but just finding the motivation. I don't, if art block is anything like writer's block, sometimes the inspiration will come at the most random times. I find that putting myself into new situations is what gives me the inspiration. I had so much inspiration for my poetry this week, for my writing, just because I was going around, like I was hiking and I was having all these thoughts and I see a cool cloud and I'm like, I'm gonna write a poem about that. I was walking and it started raining and there was a lot of snails on the sidewalk. And I was like, that's so cute. Look at all these little snails. Boom. I write a poem about that. It's just, for me personally, shaking things up a little. You know, like in Big Hero 6, you gotta shake things up a little. See things from a new perspective. That sometimes helps. Not always, but sometimes. Yeah. I have goals. I just find my energy skills don't currently match. So I'm trying to do better more recently. I saw a post about this on Twitter, quite literally. And it's like so many artists out there are putting themselves up to such a high standard, but they're still learning. You need to give yourself time to learn. Give yourself a little credit and give yourself the space to learn without trying to reach those really high standards first. Yeah? Be kind to yourself. This is such a great stream. I had to go unload groceries from the car, so thank you. Yeah, of course. Good luck with the groceries, MC. Thanks for stopping in. I had this idea today to start drawing more by just every day adding a doodle to a page in my sketchbook until the whole page is full. And yeah, I love doing that. And sometimes I'll color them in randomly. I used to do this thing with my sister where someone would draw a line and then the other person would draw a line and we'd have to like make a whole image out of that. It was such a fun little thing to do. When you're like at a restaurant dinner table waiting for your food, you just like doodle together. It was always really fun to do. It's hard to feel accomplished, but I'm trying to tell myself I'm doing a good job. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna feel it. I don't feel accomplished most days, but a lot of times I have to look back. I have to stop and look back and be like, damn, I did all of that. And you know what? It was pretty damn cool, right? Because we can be really, really harsh on ourselves. So, yo, Cloud, you're sick as heck. Keep working hard. Yeah, that cloud looks like a freaking elephant. Wait. You know the sort of paralyzation that comes with how much there is to learn and do? I'm working to push past it. I know you hear this all the time. One step at a time. Pick and choose that one thing that you think you can work on. But I get it. Oh, I get it. Because it's even like something as simple as like getting up. I want to fill my water bottle, but I also want to take out the trash. So all of a sudden, I'm stuck in the middle of my room, reaching for my water bottle and also reaching for the trash. And I'm like, what the frick did I just do? And I'm just standing there like, brain absolutely lagging because I'm trying to do two things at once and I can't figure out which one to do first. And then eventually it'll stop lagging. We'll get there, but I get that. Allow yourself some grace. You don't have to be a maverick at everything to pursue it. I grew up with golf. I'm shit at golf. Still like it. Yeah. Also, that's important. You don't have to be an expert at something to enjoy doing it, right? Don't forget the passion behind it or the reason that you started doing it either. It's something you can get stuck behind, especially when you start doing it as a job or, you know, trying to pursue it more professionally. Yeah. I try to keep track of that, like when I'm doing my streaming and stuff. And like at the end of the day, it's not only about the numbers. It's about whether or not you enjoy it too. And yeah, I know realistically I would love to make this more of a professional thing. I'm not gonna lie. But at the end of the day, I also just enjoy it. So yeah. You want to get back into dancing? I really want to get into dancing. I can't afford the classes, but I would love to take a dance class, like hip hop or something. Or maybe even belly dancing for part of my culture. I don't know, but I would love to learn it one day. It's either that or vocal lessons. I can't do both. I want to, but I can't. I feel scared, but I also feel like recently a mental switch has flipped and like I'm not caring about the perfection as much. Like it's only a portion of something. That's okay. That's good. That's good. You're growing. As soon as I have a little country house, I want to set up an archery area. Yeah! I used to do archery in like summer camps. Yes! I want a country house so badly. My entire TikTok like For You page right now is a bunch of cute little cottages and I'm so jealous. I want my little flower garden, my ducks, and my cute little cottage, man. I don't ask for much. I don't want to be a millionaire with a big house. I just want a cottage in the woods. Yeah. It doesn't have to all be done at once. No, it doesn't. I'd love to learn to sing. I've been told everyone can if taught, but I've never been able to, I don't think. I just sing in the bathroom all the time. I looked up some YouTube videos to learn. I had some friends helping me out. Anyone really can. Truly, you can. You can even learn tones. If you're tone deaf, you'll get there. Trust me. My personal opinion on singing, just choose a tune and start going. I mimic a lot too. I wanna be a millionaire, so freaking bad. Buy all of the things I never had. I wanna be on the cover of Forbes magazine. Ah, I forgot the rest of the lyrics. I'm trying to think of the lyrics. What the freak? I just brain fart. Boom, boom, boom. Wee, wee, wee. Wee, wee, wee. God, it's such a problem. I can't get this out of my head. The stupid little wee, wee, wee out of my head, Mignon. I think I have the issue where it sounds close to me through my jawbone or whatever, but when played back, hell no. You also just have to get used to hearing your voice. What I did to do that, I used to record myself on Snapchat and save all the Snapchats and listen to them. Now I realize my phone actually has a recording thing, so I just record myself singing all the time so I can get used to my own voice and stop hating it so much, because at the end of the day, you probably sound better than you think. You probably do. So, yeah. Best to start teaching yourself to sing is mimicking until you find your voice. Exactly, yeah. The wee 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 cat. Vency, it's been all stream. Wee wee wee. It's been all stream. I love that cat. I thought about using it as an alert. I should add it, honestly, with how much I freaking say it. I started singing because my sister used to play a lot on NSYNC when I was a tiny... Oh, I just sang a lot because my mother always thought my voice was soothing. And she used to have a lot of night terrors and stuff. So I used to sing to her to calm her down. Yeah, so I sang a lot when I was younger. And then I just kept singing. I really enjoy it. It just makes me happy. It's like just a way to let out my feelings. I don't know. I don't hate it, but the sound I thought I was making just isn't what's coming out. But that just means you have a different like vocal tone than you thought you did, and you have to discover your own voice, right? I cannot hit high notes for the life of me. Maybe one day I can learn how, but until I do, I falsetto for life. I do a lot of falsettos and I've gotten quite good at them because of that. Maybe I'll find something to learn passively while I work. You have a very rich voice, Lynn. So I feel like you can do like a Adele type song, a lower, well maybe not Adele, but lower like Rolling in the Deep, for example. I feel like you can hit that, right? Rolling in the deep. Something low like that I think would fit. Brando! Brando! I need you. Shout for Brando. Different people have different ranges. Some people can't sing specific notes. I can't hit high notes, at least not right now. Thank you. We're gonna get you your Discord redeem Munchie in a second. Just make sure that you have your Twitch whispers open. Does anyone have any advice for hitting high notes though? God, it's so hard for me to hit high notes. Oh yeah, just pop 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 up. Taking me out of the ordinary. How does this song go? This has been my obsession, my song obsession of the week. I want you laying me down so we're dead and buried. Yeah, that's so good. Does anyone know this song? You're taking me out of the ordinary. I want you laying me down till we're dead and buried. On the edge of your knife, slaying drunk on your vine. The angels up in the cloud. Yeah, I love that song. Something head voice. Yeah, God, but my head voice always just turns into falsetto. I think that's the thing. I have no idea what I got. Oh, hold on. I opened the wrong thing. I'll just start recording. I listen to my streams long enough to get rid of my list, so maybe this is the next step. For sure. If you notice dogs in your area congregating near you, then you hit it. I don't know. It just cracks. And I know you're supposed to get comfortable with your voice cracking because it actually trains your like vocal muscles. But God, do I hate it. I hate it. I've been very secluded lately. I've feeling myself trying to stretch my old archaic muscles, and frankly I'm hoping that I'll be able to stick with things this time. It's like I know the overwhelming nature of wanting to know and do everything is still there, but I'm kind of getting used to saying fuck it and just going for it. I know this is all very self-centered, but I'm really wanting to make my recent projects work. It's not self-centered to want to take your project fancy, and I want you to work on not think of yourself being selfish for wanting to do something for yourself, because it's not selfish to do something for yourself. And I know a lot of us grow up like that, being told that, but it's really not. It's okay. You're doing great. Two male singers I cannot karaoke to: Bruno Mars and Adam Levine. Oh God, Adam Levine, no. Bruno Mars I sometimes sing to, but he hits those high notes too. Hell no. I know you saying, Rod, though. That's amazing. I love learning these things. Does it? The way I've been belting Pink Pony Club through the voice breaks? It's a good thing to do that. I stop because I get embarrassed, even though I'm alone. It's actually good to allow your voice to break a little bit. Because obviously you gotta give it a break. Because you don't want to like actually damage your vocal cords. But you do end up building your vocal muscles like that, yeah. I blasted Pink Pony Club the day I made it my avatar. Oh, that's awesome. Die with a Smile is so good, but I cannot hit those. I think I sing Talking to the Moon a lot. And also, what was I singing the other day? Same. Hold on. It feels just a little bit bigger now. Our song on the radio, but it don't sound the same. When our friends talk about us, all it does is just tear me down. Oh, that is Talking to the Moon. Never mind. I thought it was a grenade. It's only selfish when it becomes an unhealthy pattern that affects others negatively. Exactly. By the way, guys, if you didn't know, there's still the cover is still out. the cover is still out, and then me and Seb worked hard on this. So if you do want to actually hear some of my singing, it is there. It is there. I will never stop plugging because we worked hard on it. I saved the VOD right before it got deleted. It was supposed to get deleted today. I managed to save the VOD from when we talked about it with you guys, because I like seeing your guys' reactions. This art still lives in my head rent free. It's so good. It's so good, man. I love it. I love it a lot. I was talking to my friend about how I'm scared to get into a schedule to help me heal because I'm scared of healing. It sounds stupid. It's not stupid. The fear is there for a reason, right? And you're already aware of it, so that's step number 1. Now I want to sing, guys. Now I want to sing. You know, my struggle is actually doing karaoke because it forces me to follow along with their beat. And guys, let me tell you, I do not have the breath control yet. So I'm trying to sing to a beat and I'm like, wait, hold on, wait. And I usually sing songs in my own way. I kind of change it up a little. So then I'm like, wait, pause. I'm not ready yet to sing the next verse, or I'm singing too fast. I've got cuteness aggression, but for seeing Bubba back streaming. I'm happy to be back. I'm glad today was just a yapping day. We can catch up a little. I gotta dip if I'm gonna finish honey lemon soda before night. But good night, Lynn. Thanks for stopping in, and let me know how the rest of the show is. And now I really want to sing. My go-to is always Disney, though. What are you guys' favorite songs to sing to yourself? Like, if you're in the shower or something, what do you often sing to yourself? Hold on. There's another song that I sing. Almost is Never Enough. I sing that one a lot. I sing, the Alicia Keys one. I sing it all the time. Why am I blanking on it right now? Not this girl. Oh, if I Ain't Got You. Yeah. Some people live for the fortune. Some people live for the fame. Some people live for the power. Yeah. Some people live for the game. I'm changing the lyrics because I want to. Some people think that the physical things define what's within. And I've been there before. That life's a bore, so full of the superficial. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby. If I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, and some just want everything. But everything means nothing if I ain't got... Is axolotl supposed to be there? What axolotl? Eh? There's an axolotl on the pink stairs. Blink. Blue Skies by Noah and the Whale. Make a Man Out of You. Oh, yes! I've seen Make a Man Out of You. I actually sang that in a karaoke. I've only ever done one karaoke stream, and it was like a congrats stream for reaching 500, I think, or 300. I remember. And I sang Make a Man Out of You, but I sang all the voices too. You know, I'm never gonna catch my breath. Say goodbye to those who knew me. Boy, was I a fool in school for a cutting gym. This man's got him scared to death. Hope he doesn't see right through me. No, I really wish that I knew how to swim. You do that too? Oh my god, that's such a fun song to sing. You need an applause sound alert. You guys get a little bit, just because I really wanted to sing right now. I needed to get it out. Karaoke stream? No. God, the karaoke stream was so stressful. Because I'm good at singing a cappella, sure. But the second you make me sing to a beat, it's like everything leaves my brain. You know? Welcome back, Bella. You hit falsettos for Mulan's night. Hope he doesn't see right through me. How can you not do the voices to the song? Exactly, right? You just sing Gay Bar by Electric Six. Oh my god. I don't even know the song, but I love seeing you guys list your favorite songs. It's very cute. I'll drink some water. Num 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 num. The straight no. No, unless someone gives 50 subs all at once, it's not happening. Sorry, not happening. Karaoke is way too stressful for me. It's ooh. No. Wee. No, if we send you the Discord, I need your settings to turn. Yeah, make sure that you have your Discord, your Twitch whispers open. Saving money now? No. No, thank you. Wee. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go through this stream and like clip a bunch of stuff. But I do want to thank those that do clip my streams. Trust me, it helps so much. You guys save me so much time. So for those of you that do clip my streams, I appreciate you very much. It really helps out. It means a lot. It's like, if you don't have any money to support me, you don't need to, because clipping and being here honestly means so much. Yeah. I just heard that cat going yo yo yo. I've got to thank you for the stream. I've been piled up with so much work, but your stream in the background has made it more bearable. Yeah, let's go. I'm glad I could help you out. That can be a BGM for some people. Hey, that means I've succeeded, yeah? I'm glad I could be there for you. I'm so glad. That being said, I do need to end soon. I didn't realize it's been like 3.5 hours. I do definitely need to. If you're broke, just clip. Exactly. There's so many other ways to support a streamer other than monetarily, right? You clip their stuff for them. You chat in their streams. You lurk in their streams. You make fan art of them. You follow them on their social, whatever it is. There's so many ways, and I see you guys. Trust me, I see you. I definitely see you. Okay. Wee. Save me. Save me from the wee. I cannot help myself. Right. Mama. Who do we want to raid today? Who does we want to raid? Should be in the top right. Oh yeah. 3 years, Bensi! 3 years, crazy! I can't believe I've been streaming this long. Sometimes it feels like I haven't streamed at all, and other days it feels like I'm gonna go grandma in this field. Good lord. For goodness gracious me. I'm just an old lady. I'm just an old lady. Oh goodness gracious. I'm doing my very best. Okay, I'm kind of torn. I feel like I raid Yams a lot, but also he's such a vibe, you know? No one else is streaming right now that I really want to raid. Actually, I don't know why I moved that, as if I could see it better. Hold on. It's been such a long time, but I feel like just yesterday I found you. What was I even doing back then? I think I was still a face cam streamer, right? Was I? I need a step-by-step. I'm slow. Okay. You should be able to... So, you know how to get to your Twitch whispers, right, Munchie? If you hit the little cog wheel, you open up your Twitch whispers, you see the little like pop up, right? You should see the little cog wheel, and you should be able to switch it from there. 4 to 5 years, not enough. My grandchildren need a Papa stream. Imagine me streaming. I'm a grandma streaming as a VTuber. Be crazy. My model slowly just gets more wrinkles. That'd be cute, actually. A wrinkly strawberry. First met you in the face cam days. Wow. Life has changed, right? Sure, life has sure changed. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to see. Guys, do we want to watch Minecraft? Do you want to watch Mario Kart? Do we want to watch Monster Hunter? What do you want to watch? I'll help you guys decide. Unless there's someone you want me to raid. Can't be too often because of the time zones are against me, but I always enjoy my time here. Thank you for the company. Thank you for stopping by, Wind. I really appreciate it. I was there for the PNG tubers. Yep. There were a lot, right? Minecraft? You want Minecraft? Okay, Minecraft. What's the strawberry equivalent to a raisin? A raisin. I don't know, man. Oh, you want Minecraft? Okay. Treat or yum, right? Yes! Treat or yum. Dried strawberry. The strawberries from freaking, the strawberries from Special K cereal, which is one of my favorites. You don't have a cogwheel? Is there a way we can send it to you? Honestly, since it's the end of stream, we're gonna do what we did before if we can't figure out the whispers. Brando, you can put it in chat for like a solid 10 seconds. Munchie, I just want you to get ready for the link and we'll delete it in a second, okay? If that's all right. Because I don't know how else to send it to you. Do you have Discord, Munchie? Because my mod could also just send it to you through Discord DMs. Do you have Discord DM? You do? Okay, if you want to send your Discord username, and my mod can send it to you there. If that's all right, Brando. You're lurking in both. The way you were typing, you said it. I like that you guys like to hang out in the streams that I raid to, though. That makes me happy. Hope to bother you more often next time. I love seeing you guys here. Thank you as always for stopping by. I want to wait till Munchie can get the link first, and then we'll raid out, okay? So, but yeah, just a tiny bit longer. Just a tiny. Put her in some Special K. Guys, what are your favorite cereals? What are your favorite cereals? I love Special K. What do you need me to do? Munchie needs to send their Discord username in chat, and then you can send them the link through Discord DMs. There you go. Fruit Loops. Post Blueberry Morning. What is that? I've never heard of that. What? Post Blueberry morning? Post selects blueberry morning? Blueberry? Yo, that looks amazing. That's almost like Special K, but blueberry. Ooh. Ooh. Mm-mm. Children used to have a code here in a berry brigade. Let me show you the right. Sleep baklava. And Lucky Charms. I love Fruit Loops. I don't even know if I've ever had Lucky Charms before. My mother didn't like us having marshmallows. But Special K. I used to love Reese's Puffs cereal and also Apple Jacks, but I don't get them that often. My dad loves Honey Bunches of Oats, so that's all we ever have in the house. Honey Bunches of Oats. Yeah. Cornflakes. I'm boring. Just regular cornflakes or like frosted cornflakes? I mean, they're good, right? Brenda, let me know if you guys have been able to figure it out. Cereals? So many cereals are good, but I don't really eat cereal as a breakfast food. I tend to eat cereal as like a snack, you know? Cinnamon Toast. Oh, you're right. You're so right. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is so good. I know it's bad for you, but if you treat it like it's a dessert, then it's fine, right? Right? You're in? Okay, welcome in, Munchie. Let us get our raid ready. I'm gonna be raiding Treat. A lot of you guys know him. He's a very lovely capybara VTuber. Okay. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. If you guys didn't know, I'm gonna be doing a hand cam on Wednesday. We've only done it like once or twice before. So if you would like to hang out, we're gonna do more yapping, and we're gonna be chilling and doing some special stuff. You'll see that day. But until then, I will see you guys later. Thank you so much. Wait, hold on. Let me get you the sub raid as well. It's a sub raid. There you go. Thank you, Hamudi. All right, bye. All right, buys. All right, my little berries. Bye-bye.